Hello, everyone, and welcome to Delinquents here on Roll for Chaos. Hi. Hello. We are glad to see your faces through your cameras. That's right, Todd. We're talking about you. Maybe that was a little too much. Sorry. We're back.
We talking about Todd Howard?
Yes.
Usually the Todd we're talking
that
about.
Todd Howard. The Todd Howard who has given way too much of his time and effort towards one thing that needs to be something else. Please, Todd Howard, please, for the love of God, release it. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway.
Hey, if it works, it works.
We're going to move along this wonderful cast and crew, and we're going to learn some things about characters tonight. We're, of course, going to see what happens next in this grand adventure that we call life, as each one of these individuals has succeeded, most recently, at stealing a ship. You know? Plan came together. It worked in the end pretty smoothly, I might add. There wasn't death or betrayal or mind control or SIL technology anywhere.
Give it time.
Oh, there was death, but it was somebody else's ship.
I mean,
that exploded.
That's all that mattered. Yeah, you just blew up a rather serious mercenary band's ship and made a ton of enemies. I mean, that won't ever come back. But we're going to start off at random tonight as we go to each and every one of these lovely individuals. And if we would, people know who you are now. We introduced them last time, but they don't know that much about your characters. So if you would, please describe to me what it looks like the moment that your character wakes up and what their daily routine is to start. Before you go out and pirate and adventure and murder and maim and betray and, eat tacos, that kind of thing. So... first one up is going to be Atomic. You are first. Selfies. Umbra. What do you do?
I think Umbra probably doesn't sleep too well. I feel like he gets up quite early. He is a big tea drinker, so he probably gets up, brews a cup of tea, and he has a journals that he constantly keeps with him. So I think he would have a lot of time in, his first couple of hours are probably in a journal, because trying not to give too much away, but the journals allow him to actually think while it keeps something else kind of occupied. So that actually is kind of his planning period on the day. I say for most days, because he's usually either running away from something, planning something, or hiding. So he does. There's a lot of planning in his daily routine. I say the days where he's not having this morning routine, it's probably vastly more violent and chaotic.
Right. And of course, by, keeping his mind occupied, it means avoiding speaking to the wall shadows. We'll move from there.
I mean, that's kind of what, yeah.
We'll move from there to saying, McSherry, we miss and love you as well. Too bad you couldn't be here tonight. Beatrix is out because of illness, but we'll return soon. We'll move on from there to Benjamin and Roland. Go ahead.
The Reverend Parson, Roland St. James September, does not need an alarm clock. He wakes up when the path wills him to. He goes into his clothing drawer and just grabs whatever is on top, unless he feels as if he is pulled in another direction, and then he wears that instead. For breakfast, he eats whatever is being served or whatever is available, and then after breakfast, once he has sated his bodily needs, he tends to his spiritual needs through meditation by way of like a sick aerobics program involving like kung fu and like magic and shit. It's pretty dope. He makes it up as he goes, and it always looks super awesome. And he doesn't sweat into his nice clothes because he's a magic man.
Sorry. Distraction for just a second. So I would have to say that Roland, that routine sounds an awful lot like a college student's routine.
Yeah, but imagine if an adult did it, but didn't suck.
Exactly. Rolling out of bed at around 12 whenever, going out and eating whatever you can find, and making sure not to sweat in your nice clothes while you do your morning
it's 12,
routine.
Sometimes it's 5. It's just whatever the path says needs to happen that day. He's up. He's awake.
So
5 a.m. or 5 p.m.
5 a.m. does not exist in my mind. We'll move on from there to Kai and Leifei.
Oh, sorry. I was just listening to Ben talk about how he's, describing one of my roommate's schedules. So, Leifei, he wakes up not early, not late. After a while, it was stated that he would become captain. He every morning ledgers what they lost and what they gained, and then goes into a meditative sort of state. He sits and thinks about what has happened before and all the years that have passed for him, and then proceeds to leave his room and go about the deck. Usually he skates about. Sometimes when they're not on the ship, he takes out to the swamps and wanders around for a while. He's a bit of a wanderer and doesn't sit still ever, especially not in the morning. Later in the day, you could probably see him relaxing, but early in the morning, he's energetic.
Usually up and about, traveling around and doing the things, and morning people, I hate those. We'll move on to Nora and Clarion Bell.
Clarion Bell likes to minimize the amount of time she spends charging, so as soon as that's done, she's probably up the earliest. She makes some sort of nutritional slop for the rest of the crew to consume, because there is no more cook. Not that there ever was a cook that could actually cook, but she it's part of the health maintenance of the crew. And then once that's taken care of, she will look around for any. She'll actually, now that we have a new ship, she wants to become familiar with it. So she spends a while looking for any manuals that might have been left behind, and developing a working relationship with the mechanics. If there's any time after that, she will hold herself away in the cargo hold, find what scrap she can, and work on her latest invention.
Sounds like a good morning. We'll move from there to Conrad Jackal.
Conrad doesn't so much wake up as something wakes him up. They're going to just, scrape together whatever clothing they can find. Usually it's that tattered hoodie they wear, clip on the mask, and just sort of meander down the hall. Stop, realize they haven't put on any pants. Keep walking, get something to eat, and get to work on the ship's mechanical engineering parts. If there's no one watching, they're going to get something done. If they're not, they're going to pick them up and set them outside the engine room, growl, and close the door. And they're just gonna do whatever the hell needs to be done to get the ship purring again, because it's the only thing that matters, and everyone else who gets in the way of their happiness, well, you get the picture.
Yeah, we don't need to bare the teeth and dig in deep. All right, well, this has been some interesting insight into each one of these individuals, learning a little bit about their work ethic and what they intend on doing in the morning, in the afternoon, and sometimes evening, I suppose. So, the last time we left off, you had just stolen the Euclidean. This was a ship that Umbra had used at one point in the past, had some intimate knowledge of. But other than that, you don't really know that much about it. You had spent a good period of time escaping Saberhold, which was pissed off at you. It told you that there were some demerits and there were some wages that you would have to pay to continue working amongst that freehold, which limits your options in selling bounty in the future, although there are some other areas, some other loot stops you can drop off and sell ill-begotten goods at if necessary. But we now see the Euclidean against the stars. You can see planets in the distance that are relatively small, so you are distant from where you had been at before, and the blinking lights of Saberhold are pretty far in the distance. And we see Leifei sitting there at the console, kind of controlling the ship. So I will share the map we will be using for the Euclidean right now. We will be using this. So we currently see Leifei sitting at the console up in the front, staring out a large port window, a bunch of mechanics and devices nearby him, electronics and whatnot with readouts that are kind of difficult to understand, but not incredibly different from when you were flying on the Archimedes. Although some of the navigation information is right up here with you and listed behind you now. So if someone is going to be doing your navigating, they'll be doing it within the same room while you are piloting at the ship. Instead of a wheel, you now have a U-shaped joystick thing that kind of moves forward, backward, up, and down as you hold on to it, which is kind of nice. You're not entirely certain you can kickflip this vessel like you used to be able to do with the old ship, which is, you know, a little bit of a downer. So what do we see on Leifei's face? What do you say for a moment before we move back to the other crew?
He's gonna get some time to get used to this. As he's like pondering over the buttons, he's clicking things, and just like there's blaring sounds every once in a while.
You
Oh,
hit
that's what
one,
that
and
does?
suddenly like an air brake type thing comes on, and everybody just slides across the hold where they're currently at. So,
Yep, so he's clicking buttons and figuring out what everything does before he's clicking buttons during like a battle.
As you hit another one, you recognize there's a minor comm system that kicks on as you hear the static of it, and your voice starts to echo through the ship. As you hit the brakes very hard, we start seeing the camera like float backward, like it was just flung by gravity across the room, and it continues flying until it ends up inside the inner space of the expanded hold. Everyone that's inside of this place, obviously, it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. We see Umbra. We see, well, I guess Beatrix is there as well, sitting off to the side. Roland, Clarion, and Conrad all standing inside of this room and jostled around. Roll agile to avoid any potential injuries as Leifei just slammed on the brakes.
Nope, that one went off the board.
There's a 15 from Conrad, a 14 from Roland. Both of you are successfully able to catch yourselves. Selfish.
Yes!
Just a moment, I'm still loading in.
All right, Umbra.
You can go ahead and roll for me if you want to.
From the position that you're in, as the brakes hit, you slam into the door pretty hard, and we're gonna have you take some damage. And then unfortunately, I did get. Oh, if you want to roll, Clarion, you might want to roll instead of me. That's better. But you do smack into Conrad, who then has to kind of like shoulder you aside a little bit. Bit of a heavy body being made out of metal. And if you'll roll a d6 to see what damage you take, Umbra.
Sure.
Slammed into the wall,
5
5 points of damage as you just bang! A loud, like, radiating noise echoes off the walls of metal hitting metal as that solid bone head of yours bounces off the wall. And then you hear the static noise of the comm systems open. Leifei, do you say something as you hear banging and rattling behind you as you hit the brakes?
Apologies, I didn't mean to do that.
That's all right.
Well,
I
I
knew it
did.
was going to happen.
If you press the button fifth from the left, on the second row, there should be a manual that pops out of a drawer. I should know because I looked for it.
Mm-hmm.
You just hear the sound of "oh" in the distance.
As you pop open that drawer, we see Leifei sitting there, and it just this like 7,000 page manual pops out of a little drawer.
Oh, Master always said a whole lot about being patient.
Anyway, whatever that first button was, please warn us if you are to push it again. Some injuries have been caused.
Oh, apologies. Sorry to whoever did that to. I'll make sure not to press that too much.
B sitting on the box nearby. The whole box kind of like tilts in one direction and then just bounces back, and she just whee.
Clarion immediately goes over to Umbra and checks him over and helps him deal with his bruises.
Minor contusion, a little bit of a goose egg on the back of his head as he's sitting there.
It's fine. It's fine. It's a minor little bump. It's only gonna induce one more voice that I probably won't be able to distinguish anyway. It's fine.
That's concerning to me.
So is there like a two-way intercom back here then?
There is a button on the wall. You have to press and hold it down while you speak through. So when Roland reacted, he just talked to the air, but nothing got back to Leifei.
I'm gonna. Can I open the door and make my way up towards the cockpit?
Yep. So you're heading towards the cockpit. Everybody else
Mhm.
still inside of the hold. Are you gonna follow Selfish? Are you gonna stay there? What's the plan? I'm gonna go one by one. Clarion, what are you doing at the moment?
Definitely dispensing some painkillers and saying that he ought to have a compress on that thing for a little bit.
All right, so you're walking with him down as he heads down the hall. Conrad, what are you doing while they start heading towards the cockpit?
Trying to figure out what the hell is going on with this ship. Because I'm probably going to be the one to fix it. Dummies.
I just say on my way out.
Conrad, please just don't ruin my ship too much. I know you like to stay busy with these things. Just be conservative, okay? It's just okay.
And walk out towards the cockpit.
So you
Conservative.
head to the cockpit. And let's see. Roland, what are you doing at the moment?
I saw a small mess hall right next to a toilet there in the mid deck, which on Avalon is technically a health code violation, but I'm gonna see if I can health code us up with some coffee.
All right. So you head right over to the kitchen or the dining little area there. And there's a small door that just kind of, and then there's this very, very tiny area with a stove, furnace, sink, and a small ice chest off to the side.
Tea kettle? Coffee maker? Anything?
Give me an aware roll to see what you can find inside of this thing.
My senses are keen when coffee is involved. I told you.
You do find a kettle. You do find that there is some unground beans in here in a bag.
Oh, the path provides if you only bid it. And Roland grinds up the beads. Whether there's a coffee grinder or not is immaterial. Roland just makes do, scrapes a couple of bowls together, whatever, and makes everybody some coffee.
Okay, give me a tough roll as you attempt to make a food or drink for people. Excellent.
Grinding beans is tough.
So you actually just use a couple of rough bowls and you make a mortar and pestle type thing and just kind of crush them together. Make a nice little blend there. It's probably a little rougher than usual. And then, of course, you get it cooking for everyone. So after the kettle begins whistling, you then add water in and sort of French press style, separate out some of the grounds, and you make
what Roland will do is he'll see if there's any cheesecloth or anything, and put all the grounds in the cheesecloth, wrap it up, tie it off, and then just steep it in the boiling kettle like tea.
Yeah, there you go.
Because we don't have a frickin' French press, we'll have to pick that up next stop.
So you make coffee for everybody, and we move back up to the front. Some painkillers have been ascribed to you. Give me a medical roll using brains, Clarion. Excellent. With a 23, you have succeeded at patching up the wounds that Self has had. At this point, you will just have been healed from that pretty easily. So you walk up, you see Leifei there. Clarion's behind you. She forces you to take medicine, wraps your head a little bit, and pats you on top of the head.
He's just doing the thing where you can tell he doesn't want it, but he's also not stopping it. He's just kind of in that mindset of, if I just let this happen, I'll be done. And just kind of but he's also not making it easy at the same time. So he's just walking.
All right. So making it up to the cockpit, you see Leifei staring out the window to the vastness of the void as you continue traveling. I'm assuming you haven't stopped. You're still just kind of moving away from Saberhold to make sure nobody can follow you. And what do you say to him now?
Is there a second chair in here, or is it only just a single chair?
You only have the main cockpit chair, but then there's one over by the navigation array, that purple thing on the right.
Nah, he's small enough. He'll just walk up, since I'm assuming he's already looking down at him while he's sitting anyway. So I'm just gonna walk up to the side and kind of lean up against one of the bulkheads, knowing full well where everything is on this ship, so I know kind of where to stand, and just be like,
I know we really haven't had a chance to do formal introductions, and my name is Solfiz Aether Coil. I have some assumptions about your, let's just say, past, heritage, where you came from, and probably like most, my family was actually around during the monarchy, and we actually were close to it right before the end of the monarchy. And would it be safe to assume? Well, first off, introductions, if you wouldn't mind. What should I call you?
Well, perhaps Captain. For now.
Well,
Good.
first off, I did not sign up for
Lefay.
that. Thank you. That is be more suitable. So, Lefay. Would it be fair to assume that you are of the noble house?
It'd be fair. You'd be right.
All right. Just, I just want to put, we're kind of in the situation together for how long this situation might be, and all cards on the table. My younger years were filled with a lot of hate and resentment towards, well, your family and, as a whole, more your kind. And it's gonna be a tough foot to get started on, but I figured I would at least see where you stand with it, which will then navigate our future relationship.
Well, mate, where I stand, or sit at least, is right here. As is pretty obvious. Not in any castle or any place like that. So you could probably assume what happened.
Very well. And are you more neutral with your former life, or are you more antagonistic with it?
Oh, odd way to put it. Hey, sorry about the head, by the way.
It's fine. It's a complex ship. This was mine for quite a long time. I was actually I was the first person to ever use it. I was there when it was christened, actually. So I know all the weird quirks with it.
Do you think you'd be better off driving it then?
My years have kind of caught up to me, and I know how things work, but the reflexes, and quite frankly, I have more voices in my head that would make it safe to allow me to drive this ship, so it's probably best that you stay in. If anything, I'll just guide when I can.
At this point, Clarion finishes wrapping his head and it says, Your treatment is finished. Please keep this on for a minimum of 2 hours.
Absolutely, thank you. What was it again?
Clarion Bell.
Clarion Bell, Miss Bell, thank you very much for your healing.
You're quite welcome. And then she sits down and starts labeling the buttons with a Sharpie or something.
Okay.
I guess I never thought to do that. Anyway, so there's definitely going to be some settling in period, I guess, with all of us now that the excitement's all over. I'm open to assisting in traveling. It's just, as you probably can guess, we all have our own desires, wants, and needs in this life, and I am the same way in my drive right now, which would led me to where we previously were from. And I used to work for an organization that was kind of spawned during the fall of the monarchy, during the rise of the empire, and well, just like you, I'm no longer a part of it. And maybe not like you, I wish to see it burn to the ground, which is primarily my life purpose, which also has led to this. And he kind of just motions to his head and like makes a little like shadows grow a little bit darker, and it maybe it's probably more unsettling about how easy it is, not that it's happened. Just, but you'll be good to it, and the ship will be good to you. If you have any questions, just ask. I'm also here if anyone wishes to talk.
Fascinating.
Certainly.
As you were
You're
having,
always welcome.
sorry, go ahead.
You're always welcome aboard the ship for as long as we're all on it.
Oh yeah, 'cause
And-
it's my ship. It's my ship. My ship.
As
Good point.
Mike gives him a big piratey grin. We have Roland walking up the hallway carrying a small tray that happens to have a few cups of coffee steaming upon them quite easily. As you head up the hallway, Roland, you can't help but notice as you walk past the engine that is humming and purring off to your right. As you look over to it, you see that it says Light's Path.
Oh, how peculiar. Brother Conrad, are you still back here?
Conrad steps out of the hold.
Talking to me?
Yes, I am. What do you make of this engine, son?
Is it on fire?
Well, I haven't opened the hatch, but we can presume that it isn't, unless it runs on fire, of course.
Are you going to cut to the chase?
What do you mean? What chase would I be cutting to? Do you think I'm selling you something?
Conrad goes back to talking to themselves, fidgeting with a circuit in the wall.
Would you like some coffee, Brother Conrad?
Conrad doesn't answer and keeps working on the engine.
He's ignoring you.
Roland takes a cup and just sort of like sets it near like vaguely out of Conrad's workspace because we know there's stuff going on, but like right there. I don't even know if it tastes good, so it doesn't matter if you let it get cold. I'd be interested in taking a look at that engine with an extra set of eyes, preferably expert.
As he's doing this, Conrad sets two clawed, animalistic fingers inside of the coffee, picks it up, sets it in his mouth, and tips it back. And you swear that you see, like, the entire cup just disintegrate. Not disintegrate, but empty down Conrad's throat before they set the cup back down.
That steaming liquid, like air, just comes out of the edge of his breath, like a dragon breathing fire.
Can you even metabolize caffeine, or is your body too advanced for that?
You're not going to be satisfied until you take a look inside of it.
Oh, that's fine. If it's not the time for that, if you have important business to attend to, for example, if that circuit board is on fire, I'm happy to leave you to your work, sir.
Conrad turns and looks Roland straight in the eye with a get-to-the-point look.
Do you want to take a peek in the engine or not?
I already have.
What do you make of it, then?
So, Conrad, give me a brains roll to see how much you've looked into this engine. Nat 20.
Ooh, there you go.
Okay. With a nat 20, I will give you these two options. The first one is your character is aware of some of the secrets this engine has. That won't necessarily make it easier for you to deal with, but that is something that will provide you with an amount of knowledge that might be beneficial in the future. Alternatively, you will gain bonuses on repairing this engine, even though it's incredibly complex. So either you know
What
about
kind of
secrets.
question is that? Repair.
All right.
I've seen the last season.
So you're gonna have +2 to repairs made on this engine on the ship for the foreseeable future. As you move over to it, after you have taken a look at this before, and as you are starting to now, since you've only been on the ship a small period of time, we see Conrad walk around over to it, standing in front of it, and near the console in the terminal that's nearby. And Roland, I think you kind of lean in almost conspiratorially as you look at this thing to try to determine what's going on. Conrad, you start opening up a couple of hatches. You recognize some strange fitted screw heads you're going to have a specific tool for, but, not that big of a deal. You start looking for the general way that these systems work, which typically involves aetherite, a few different transformers that change some of the magical energies into the properties and elements that you need to make a ship work. Heat and electricity and water and gravity and, a spatial protection bubble that makes it so that not everything gets sucked out into the void. A variety
The coffee
of things.
maker.
Exactly, a coffee maker. Only this engine doesn't seem to do any of those things. If it was up to you, you would say that this wasn't an engine at all, but rather something that drew energy from someplace else.
And they take one look at it. They tilt the side of their. He takes it. 3, 2, 1. Umbra cocks their head to their side. He turns to Roland and goes, "Get out."
Conrad does, yes.
Conrad goes to Roland, "Get out." And you swear there's a growl in his voice.
Is there a problem with my being in here? Is this dangerous?
Would you like me to answer the first, or would you like me to answer the second?
Preferably both. I did ask them both.
Take your pick.
Oh, do I only get to choose
You only
one?
get one.
Closes the engine and walks off towards Umbra.
So Conrad just turns and very brusquely kind of just brushes past and just leaves, leaving you unaware of what's going on with this strange merc that seems to be confused about the engine. That's the one thing you do notice. So give me an aware roll, Roland, as you're standing there.
7. First
All
good
right.
roll of the night.
All you roll with a 7, all you know with a 7 is that Conrad had a surprised look on his face and a confused look and scratched his head before brushing you off and heading towards the cabin.
Well, Roland's just gonna go in the freaking engine room then.
You're in the engine room.
Oh, we're in it? You told
Yeah,
me to get
it's-
out. I
it's
thought we
very
were
tiny.
like just outside of it.
Yeah, if you look at the map I've provided you,
yeah, you're in
it's right there in the center of the ship. It's a very
All right,
tiny
this guy
place.
doesn't do maps. Roland is just gonna kind of take it in because he doesn't understand what's going on in there, but he feels like it's important, and he's like he should be there right now.
As you're standing there, give me a magical roll.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Oh
There you go.
yeah.
22.
Oh no!
So Conrad steps away and heads out to go and find Umbra, who's up inside the cockpit. And as you were left there to your own devices, Roland, you sense this engine attached to multiple living beings. Somewhere
Oh
else.
my god, no. I'm still playing Red Iron? Can I talk to it? Will it manipulate me?
I refuse to answer these questions. Make your damn rolls.
Here we go again, folks!
Oh no. Roland will let them come out in their own time and will approach them with suspicion and until they prove otherwise.
So, yes, you do have a sensation like there are tethers of some kind, almost like you're dragging anchors behind the ship. You can kind of feel that in the magical space in your mind, that there's some sort of something that is dragging like kite strings behind this ship, living beings, and siphoning their power to do what is necessary to make this ship work.
Oh, I'm not sure how I feel about this. Roland is gonna. Whew. Oh man, are we getting into this right now? Okay, all right, we're doing it. Roland is just gonna kind of reach a hand out and just sort of like see if he feels if their energy is that of Eternals.
With the previous roll you had with a 22, yes, they are Eternals tethered to this engine.
Do I know what variety?
All.
Oh heck, that's fun. Roland satisfied getting the information that he got. Is there an upper deck, like a top deck
This
where
is
I
a
can see the
very
void?
this is a very tiny place. The top deck is literally just on top of the ship. There is an antenna station up there, things like that. You could work on it outside, but there's no extra floors in this vessel.
But we can go outside of it,
Yeah.
without getting sucked into the void.
Depending on how far Leifei has the outer perimeter of the force field set, yes. If it's just set to the exterior of the ship and you step out beyond it, you're gonna go into the void.
Right, yeah, let's not chance that. Roland will head up and go and see Leifei.
Okay. So you walk up to the head, and at this point, Conrad, you have stepped into the mess. You've got Clarion there that's like just finished wrapping up Conrad or Umbra's head. Umbra's standing right next to Leifei. What do you say as you walk into this space? You're muted. Sorry.
Conrad approaches Umbra and gives him a elbow to the shoulder, or Conrad's way of saying, "Problem, we need to talk," and drags them over to the engine.
If you wouldn't mind, just beg my pardon. I'm just gonna excuse myself real quick, but we'll continue this. But you should look over here where there are graffitied from the previous inhabitants, but that's me when I first got the ship. That's me when the ship was first christened. So you can just look at those things for evidence as to this is my ship. But you can dwell on that. I'm just gonna be right back.
You just see pictures that have some forms of graffiti sprayed across them, eyes kind of marked out, but an individual who looks remarkably like a slightly less scarred Umbra are in the pictures with the ship.
But yeah, I'll head back with Conrad.
Adromech's throwing out +1s to people's rolls.
So does Roland do anything as the two parties come to collide?
Hey, Roland, you're walking up into the room now at this point. There's a small stairwell there, so everybody kind of has to brusquely squeeze by each other. It's a much smaller ship.
Roland lets them through graciously, and then as they walk by, he gives them a nod. Brother Umbra, Brother Conrad.
Conrad just stares death into the Reverend's eyes.
Oh yes. Just 1 second. We have to go talk about something. Apparently,
You don't need
But-
to explain yourself to me, sir.
I didn't know I needed to explain anything.
Umbra
Then why were
stops.
you explaining things to me, sir?
Just one thing at a time, please. There's already enough voices. I don't need any more. It's just that. But if you wouldn't mind just entertaining yourself, I'll be right with you. Roland, right? Is it Roland, Reverend? But
You may call me. I am the Reverend Parson Roland St. James September. You may call me any combination of the preceding. However, I am not here to talk to you. I'm going to see the captain.
All right, Mr. September.
And he just kind of like shrugs and follows Conrad.
All
As
right,
soon as
so
they're
you
clear,
and Conrad head down. Go ahead. As soon as you're clear.
Mhm.
as soon as they're clear, Conrad slides the knife back into his jacket.
And as you two step away at this point, where do Conrad and Umbra go?
Towards the quote-unquote engine.
Okay, so you step into the engine space, and the two of you are there. What happens next?
We got a problem with the engine.
I don't know why. Is it not working? What?
The transinduction coils are decatalyzing to absolutely nothing. The aero siphoners are backlogged, but surprisingly, the entire thing is completely functional, and we haven't folded it ourselves sideways. Do you mind explaining why the engine isn't the engine?
So, Umbra, give us a brains roll to see how much you actually know about how your engine works. This was something that came
Absolutely.
from your previous organization, so...
Mm-hmm. Which could explain a lot of different things.
All right, with a
30,
20, you do
30,
know
20.
a lot about this. I can reveal as much or as little of the information as you want, because obviously everybody else is going to hear about it. But, like, what do you want to know that you want to share with Conrad? So, and how much do you want me to give away of your backstory?
Oh, okay. In terms of the backstory, as little as possible. But in terms of my knowledge, in his current state, he would share freely. So if you wanted just to kind of download the
Okay.
group, he wouldn't. He would fill Conrad in because he generally knows Conrad comes from a good spot, regardless of how gruff it is.
So the Elpath engine is designed to siphon off energy directly from the Eternal Realm. It reaches in, grabs a hold of energy sources there, and then uses them in transient natures as it passes anywhere that it goes. This is something that was created. Oh no, we've lost someone.
Yeah, she said
entirely.
she said she was going to come right back.
Okay, well, in the meantime, we'll just to fix the.
I don't know what everyone's
issue.
talking about. I'm fine. So.
Yeah, I'm fine as well. We'll just put this up here in 2 spots just until they return. So
Ooh.
there you go. Now Umbra is saying your stream is still running. That's
Ha.
we're in different spots, but you can see our faces, so that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the Elpath engine
Mhm.
takes energy directly from eternal beings that are in the local vicinity and draws it off of them. And it should be harmless, but then again, with the previous organization, it might not be harmless. But who cares? It's just Eternals.
Conrad shrugs, draws a surprisingly girthy knife, holds it over his shoulder in the direction of Roland. Goes, "You want me to deal with it?"
Deal with what?
He offers to murder Roland for you.
Well, I say Conrad and I have enough of a history where he's probably seen generally my 2 states, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So Conrad, you generally know when if Sulfus isn't agitated or like on the job or like in combat, he has kind of like a mellow state, and he's kind of in that state right now. So he's kind of maybe not as hectic, manic, or as potentially chaotic as he was prior to departure. So he's in this moment of like, he honestly just doesn't perceive what you're implying, but you would recognize that he's just in that mindset again.
So as you're standing there, give me an aware roll as well, Umbra, just to see. Yes.
This will be good.
You're not the most aware person in the world, but we'll see what happens there. Oh,
Hey, 15. Yeah, not bad.
So you hear the whispers of the shadows around you, which are always muted when you're near this engine for some reason, but as you're standing there next to Conrad, you happen to notice the terminal nearby, a couple of lights flashing upon it. And you look over and check, and it does appear that you are running low on Aetherite, which is still necessary to power all the extraplanar spaces that you have aboard this vessel, using space magic to extend the room. Without those Aetherite crystals, eventually, if you run out of energy, it will just collapse back into the regular physical size it's supposed to be, and everything in that space will be compacted at the same time, likely destroying them. You've run into this problem before, and you are aware that there is a room that you kind of want to not have all of your things crushed within.
Oh, would you look at that? We're gonna have to put that on the list. We got to get some more crystals. But back to your point about
The Reverend.
this. You think he's gonna do something destructive to the ship, or to the engine, or to what?
To the engine, probably. He's been very nosy about everything going on.
I think he's just generally a pretty curious individual. How about this? That will be Plan B, but let's go speak to the group as a whole. We'll stand by the stairwell. We'll basically control the exit if need be, and we'll just have a discourse as to laying out boundaries. That will be the line that may not be crossed.
You've heard him. About the path?
Yeah, it's a peculiar thing.
All right. So we'll move from there back to where Roland and Leifei are currently communicating at, just to see what's happening there. Roland, go.
Roland sets a cup of coffee next to the console by Leifei, and then takes a sip of his own, and then mirroring the beginning of the previous scene says, "We have a problem with the engine."
Do we? We just left.
The engine is perfectly functional. The manner of its use is completely intact. It is the manner of its use that concerns me.
Oh yeah, what's that? It's not a Syl engine, is it?
No, it's not Seal.
Oh, fantastic.
I can't imagine what that would be like. It seems to be siphoning energy or something. I don't know if it's the same Eternals every time, but it seems to be powering itself by siphoning energy off of Eternals. Now, this is not of personal concern to me. However, it could potentially cause problems down the line.
Perhaps. Maybe we should switch out the engine. I mean, if it's been functioning so far, and he like nods over to the graffiti Safas made on this ship, just like seems like the ship's been running for a good time.
Yeah, I would be interested if at some point, not necessarily right now. It's not urgent. We've only been on this ship for about an hour and a half, maybe. I'd be interested in if you would expand the atmospheric generator to slightly outside the exterior of the ship so that I may commune with the Eternals that we're siphoning energy off of. I just want to see. I mean, it's like this. For an Eternal, it could feel like a tingle. It could also feel like they're having their soul sucked out of their body.
They might also not notice that it's happening.
That's why I'm just gonna check. I'll
Certainly.
be sly about it. Don't you worry, Captain.
I trust you. I'll try and blossom it out when we're a good distance away. I don't want anybody to catch up to us anytime soon.
It's no rush. As you've said, the ship has been running for quite a while, and I don't necessarily need to make waves.
Certainly. We'll try and figure out where we're going to be setting down, if we're going to be setting down anytime soon. And
Mid-Sherry in chat, can we test it on Zep? Oh my god.
Make sure he's trying to get that empty heart class built way faster than I intended. Anyway, so we see the two of you have this conversation, and we are going to go to a very brief break to try to make sure everything is still good here at the moment. So we'll be back in just a second, everyone. Thank you very much for waiting for us to return. We will be back in a second. Like I already said a second ago.
I'll miss you.
Bye. everyone, and we've returned. Yay! Hey! We got a little bit of a different situation, but you know what? We make it work however we need to make it work. In the case of rolls, I will make those for Clarion for now. Unless you want to roll a d20. If you have one handy, you could use those for your rolls, and I'll tell you what your modifiers are.
Okay, cool.
That way, you don't have to rely on my GM's touch for your rolls. So, where we had left off, we had Roland speaking to Leifei about modifying the shielding so that they could
I
get
just
up on
wanna
top of the
talk.
ship. To talk, yes.
I just want to talk.
So Clarion, you have been standing in the same room as well, kind of looking around. But basically, Roland has brought up the fact that the ship seems to be powered by eternal energy, like stolen eternal energy. And that might be problematic. Do you have any input for this?
Roland, is this going to be a problem for you?
Me personally, not necessarily. I siphon energy and service from Eternals as often as I drink coffee. Sip. However, Eternals can be vengeful and selfish, and I would hate for one of them to become rebellious and cause problems.
I see. Perhaps the previous owner of the ship had an arrangement made with them. So in that case, I support your efforts to make our own arrangement. Find out what they want and what we can supply them with.
I wasn't even going to negotiate. I was just going to ask how their day is, and if they tell me, my God, it feels like my soul is being sucked from my body, then I think I'll have a good sense for how dangerous this is.
Indeed. Thank you, Ollie.
Good kitty.
right.
Has anybody else been seeing a cat around the ship?
It's a phantom cat. Everybody sees it sometimes, but nobody actually, knows where it is or when it arrives or anything.
Listen to me, Ty. I will die for this cat.
You will die for the cat.
His
We'll
name's
call it
Scruffy.
Boone.
You cannot stop me.
So Leifei, the ship itself, kind of just traveling in one direction. Technically, you can step away from there if you need to, but keeping an eye on where you're traveling is always important. You're sure that there are some measures in place that will give you some sort of a heads up if you're approaching something dangerous or might go headlong into it. But so the autopilot exists, but you don't know necessarily how to use it yet. Do you want to study that?
I believe that would probably be important. So yeah, he's like
Alright.
flipping through pages as they're talking. He's just like flipping through these pages.
So give me an aware roll, and we'll see how long it takes for you to figure out how to control the ship in some of the most rudimentary ways.
Certainly.
You're a very intelligent man. Awareness is not necessarily... There you got a 12. With a 12, you will learn the basics, the very basic how-tos of this ship within about 4 hours of study. So Leifei sits down and starts paging through this book while staring out the window, still driving and expecting all of you to take care of business in the meantime. So Roland, right after asking that of Leifei, he immediately goes on to trying to learn something different about the ship first.
I appreciate your trust in this matter, Captain. And then Roland will go, and he's actually gonna. His current aim is to go and inspect the mess to see what kind of provisions they actually have.
Okay, so you start heading back down below. Clarion, where do you go from there? Do you stay in this position and try to learn some of the systems as well, or are you going to do something else inside this rather small ship?
Yeah, I think I'll stay up in the cockpit and point things out to Leifei and flip through the book.
All right, so Clarion stands uncomfortably close and starts reading the book with you and pointing to things that she believes that are important for you to pay attention to, like a teacher. And we see Roland walking down below. Before you get down there, we see Selphis and Conrad. So Umbra and Conrad, what are you doing now?
Would it have been possible?
Go ahead.
Go on. Sorry. As I said, would it have been possible to like get there while everyone was still in the cockpit, like while like Roland's on his way out?
If you'd stepped away from that conversation with Conrad after trying to convince him not to murder Roland, you could be heading up the stairs about the same time as Roland was starting to come down towards you.
Yeah, because I thought like we ended the conversation with basically like we'll have a talk and then that will be plan B if the talk doesn't work.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
So you see the little head of the tiny Umbra walking up the stairwell, Roland, as you start heading down.
Roland steps aside and gives way again.
If you wouldn't mind, Mr. September, would you mind just hanging around for a moment?
Yes, of course.
He kind of clears his throat to kind of get like attention of the cockpit and just
Well, I think it's fair to say that there should be some disclosure about what this ship is and where this ship came from. So, Mr. September, I presume that you have figured out kind of how the engines work, correct?
I mean, I'm not a mechanical man, but I do
It's not
understand how
exactly-
the energy is being transitioned. Yes.
Exactly. It's not exactly a fully mechanical engine, and so, how many of you are familiar with Dad?
Excuse me.
sorry.
Yes, how many of you are familiar with Dad?
I
The-
mean, I had a father.
What's that, Miss Bell?
So, go ahead.
I don't remember what the acronym means, but she would.
Yes, Clarion
Aether and
recognizes Dad. He's saying Dad. Nobody calls it Dad. They call it the DAD. The Department of Aether Defense.
he calls it Dad.
Amongst the Empire, it is the Department of Aether Defense. They are a preemptive strike organization designed to make sure that magical threats are dealt with, eradicated, or locked away.
Ah, interesting. Was the ship liberated from them?
No, this ship was provided by them. This was handed to me as my charge, if you will. Miss Bell, I'm sure you could probably connect the dots, but that would mean that I was once employed by the DAD, as most people prefer it, but I think it's kind of droll, so I say Dad. I think it's more fun that way. But I was once...
confusing.
No, but for your sake, Miss Bell, I will say DAD, and I was once a DAD agent for quite some time, for most of my life, actually, and this ship was mine, so the origin of that engine, as well as the origin of this ship, quite frankly, could come from pretty questionable means. With my more recent knowledge of the DAD, my preference would be, and Mr. September, you're a free man, you can do as you wish, but if we could not tinker to the point of potential ship destruction with all of us, I'm sure that would be beneficial to us all.
I see
If
the
you-
benefit in not dying aboard this ship through tinkering with it too much. I only have a basic question. I actually don't care about the origins of the engine whatsoever. I'm here to do crimes. However, I do have a concern that the siphoning of eternal energy could cause backlash. Do you see that as a possibility, sir?
Well, with Ty, would it be fair to say that Umbra has at least some knowledge of Eternals
Yes.
in terms of how the
absolutely.
engine connects to them? Okay.
So the short answer is most Eternals are weak enough that or are strong enough that they wouldn't notice a lot of this drain. However, if they were weak enough to notice the drain, they're also weak enough not to be much of a threat.
Well, Mr. September, I've had this ship for, well, what seems like centuries now. And I can say thus far it has not occurred, so I would say the likelihood is statistically low. But of course, with Eternals, it's always a possibility.
There is, however,
Oh.
one option. There's part of the engine that is called the Slave. That can actually be used to store an Eternal, like up to indefinitely. the DAD would use vessels like these and engines like these to capture dangerous Eternals and then turn them into Aetherite.
Does holy shit? Does Umbra relay that information?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, well, we certainly have a partnership in our future, don't we, sir?
Well, I mean, I would assume so. I mean, you all are here in some capacity on my ship, but I figured there would at least be some future in it.
All I'm saying is cards on the table. If we need Eternals, I can certainly find some.
Well, I know we are kind of low on Aetherite right now, and we either need to get it from reputable means or from use of the other feature of that engine.
So, Umbra, in the interest of direction, your character does know a little bit about some shipping lanes nearby Saberhold that might be worth hitting.
I mean, well, Mr. September, you said you, if I remember correctly, you're here to do crimes, is that correct?
Why, in fact, I am. What do you propose, sir?
Well, does that go for the rest of his crew? Miss Bell and, is it Leafy? Lefty?
Ha!
Tiffy?
Brother Leifei, how do you feel
Leifei.
about acquiring goods through dubious means, sir?
Have we gained anything in any other means?
I only served with the crew for 2 weeks prior to getting this ship, so I wouldn't know.
There is a reason that we are called pirates, and I knew what I was signing up for.
So,
Very
Umbra,
true.
part of your original plan was to get this vessel, and to, of course, deal with some threats that come from your past that you might have some connections to that you don't necessarily like. There is a ship called the Kyries that is supposed to be traveling between Avalon and Silvershield, not too far off from where you're at now. It happens to be a merchant vessel, or at least outwardly is a merchant vessel, that happens to have some old equipment of yours that you used to own on board it. You know that you could gather some of the Aetherite that they use for their engines as well to make sure you don't run out here, as well as potentially getting some loot. If you can find a way either on board and sneak in and steal stuff, or destroy it, kill people, hold them hostage, whatever it is you need to do.
Well, Mr. September and Leifei, my apologies before, I think we could scratch each other's back in a way. I am aware of a vessel that will be passing by that not only has some possessions that I wish to get back, it also just has, well, frankly, various other possessions as well that we could use for either the ship or just for the sake of plunder, loot, treasure. It would be, it's a merchant vessel, so it probably would not be an issue for a crew as skilled as us.
Now, you, being ex-Sparrows, have recently lost your ship. You've lost your loot. The most valuable items that you have, you're carrying upon your persons right now. It would behoove you to start amassing some sort of wealth in order to advance whatever this new little band is going to be in the future. Leifei, how do you respond, Umbra?
Sounds like a good start. What sort of things do they have?
Well, die.
And then you turn to me. Well, so you know that this merchant vessel tends to carry exotic alcoholic beverages, happens to have a dearth in material components, mineral goods that are usually used for crafting basically metals, like rare earth metals that they need for some of the equipment, electronics, and whatnot on Silvershield that are being transferred from Avalon. Each one of these things could be worth a good amount of money. You don't know the specifics on what else they might be carrying other than some of your old equipment, but beyond that, You think you could probably black market somewhere in the range of like 6 to 7,000 silver if you collect this and fill your hold?
So, if you think that's a reasonable score, I think it's a term. That is certainly a possible target.
1 day's work for 7,000.
Yeah.
If
Sounds
you're a good
baller.
barterer,
I'm in.
of course.
Say that again, Ty.
Said if you're a good barterer, of course.
Yeah. I don't really know how to, exactly what to do with the loot after we acquire it. Most of my transactions are final. So, that would be more on you lot. I really don't need a ton to keep moving forward.
That's perfectly easy. We know a couple fences and a couple people, specifically an old merchant that I think we had a good dealing with last time that would probably like to take that off our hands.
Conrad, how do you feel about some potentially physical procurement of various goods? Alright, that's what I thought. So,
Just thumbs up and gets ready for combat.
I imagine he does thumbs up with one of the hands still has the massive blade in it.
Yeah.
Okay then.
I would like to ask, Mr. Umbra, if
Yes.
what your ultimate aims are in providing this crew with loot. If
Oh, that's very.
information you want.
Oh, that's very simple. My general goal is to bring death to anything that the DAD stand for. So anyone that's a part of it, the entire HQ as a whole, just generally just destruction, if you will. Destruction and murder for the most part. Where they come together.
Do you want to reveal to the crew that some of the equipment that you were getting were parts of a bomb you were making to put inside of the DAD headquarters?
Not right now. They don't need to know that.
Okay.
Wait, Ty, in my backstory, would that have been a DAD op?
Yep.
Wait a second.
Wait,
Hold on. Well, if you're going against them, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not really against. It's kind of like, I was once a DAD agent. My job was to seek out various Aether users and beings and various things, and generally take care of them. Most times, take care of meant bring death upon. It was sometime during my tenure there where I determined that the society was no longer reputable, and lots of the things I have done now bounce around in here for forevermore. So I would like to make them pay for their role in quite a lot of it.
I
The
have two
shadows
questions for you.
nearby.
Now,
Umbra's talking to you, and his eyes kind of dart to the side. Where Umbra, you see the form of like a little girl's arm kind of come out of the shadows. Give it back. Give it back.
Yes, and there it is once more.
So he's just like looking down, just eyes slowly blackening over.
bonk.
Thank
Eyes
you,
clear, like
Conrad.
you just suddenly see all the black drain out really quick, like you just popped a plug in a toilet or something.
He pats himself down. He finds his journal and the inkwell pen, and not inkwell, but the what's it
The
called?
auto pen, yeah.
Auto pen. And you see him. He starts like writing in his journal, but his hands writing in his journal. His head and everything else is completely still like engaging you guys.
does talking about your past cause that often, sir?
It's not really just talking. It's just kind of, it happens. It could be triggers. It could be the fact when I do something with my Aether abilities, it comes up. It could just be that I firstly just murdered a bunch of people. It's really hard to say, but it's just kind of here for forevermore now. So it's either I kill everyone that I need, or I die trying. And quite frankly, both are fine. You can stare into the void for so long until it finally creeps its way in, which is the reason why I have this. As some of you might know, it is death magic.
Then it will do you no harm if I ask you a personal question, sir.
Absolutely not.
Did you ever serve on Avalon?
Ty?
I'll leave that one up to you. Do you? I mean, you probably traveled all over, and Avalon is the most populous place in the entire Aether sphere. So it is a likelihood that you've been there before.
Yes, I've served work and carried out a certain number of missions on Avalon.
Did you ever do any operations on unified etheric churches?
There was a time when certain individuals that were a part of churches were deemed a threat to...
Oh, I'm well aware. You do not need to use euphemisms with me, sir.
It's just old habits, you know. Yes, some targets within the church were identified.
Well, the path forgives. I'll presume that you were on the other side of the planet.
As you wish. It's the lines between the guilty and the innocent lives that have been fallen by my hands have blurred and fallen away quite a long time ago, which is the reason I walk this path now.
Oh, you said the magic word, sir. Well, if you need help along your path, I would be happy to grant you spiritual counsel and martial aid in that capacity.
And
Mr.
Conrad
September?
steps between them.
Yeah.
Conrad,
Mr.
what
September.
do you say as you just walk in between the two of them?
Conrad doesn't say anything. They just glare at Roland.
Conrad's wolf-like eyes just staring at you, daring you to do something to Umbra, sensing
It's
there might
funny
be
'cause it's
tension,
like-
maybe?
It's like a signal bar. It's like hit, then hit.
Yeah.
Just, Mr. September, I thank you for the offer, but I think there's a very high likelihood I do not make use of it.
Well, that is not up to you. Not up to me either. This isn't a threat.
What were you saying, Nora?
If the two of you are finished not threatening each other, I have one final question. Umbra, what happens after you achieve your desired destruction?
Umbra, you assume a power vacuum will exist, and you won't have to deal with that yet.
Miss Bell, I am very convinced that this journey I find myself on I will either die along it or at the end of it. I haven't entertained the thought of what might happen if I succeed.
I see. So if we succeed, then we go our separate ways. You with your ship and us with our spoils.
I mean, we'll have to see if we get that far first. I mean, everything is up for discussion.
Indeed.
But we shall see. Who knows? At that point, if I'm powerful enough to take it down, well, quite frankly, I'll probably be one of the more powerful Aether beings remaining, and using very, 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 very forbidden Aether. So that would be a thing.
I see.
Yes.
That would be interesting to see.
But
you,
anywho.
succeed at taking down the DAD. They do hunt people like you as a common everyday job.
Yeah, that's the whole the theme of the characters, that the hunter eventually became the hunter going the other direction.
The hunted.
So he basically became the thing that they once hunted.
Yes, exactly.
The hunter
he-
becomes the hunted.
Yeah,
And-
he wants
and
to.
is
He
hunting
loves
as
the
well.
irony. Yeah, he loves the irony of becoming the thing that they hunt. That would then be their destruction.
So, as you're sitting there, of course, Umbra has mentioned this other ship that might be out there. A whale, as it were, something that is worth a lot to all of you. That might be an acceptable first mission as a new crew. It's no longer Sparrows, but it's something else. You don't currently have a title or a name for your band. You might want to think that up. See what kind of flag colors you can fly. Or you can stay under the radar as just common thugs. Because that's what happens if you don't have a name. But Leifei, as you're sitting there and you're piloting, I'm going to say that as you're flipping through the book, Umbra is discussing where the lane is at, that this place could be at. Umbra, you would make a great navigator on this ship, so I'm going to now see about delegating locations and positions for individuals. On the left and right side of the ship, you see that there are two rather large cannons. Those are lightning cannons. They only fire directly in front of your ship. There happens to be the position, of course, of the pilot, who will control things like how fast you go and where your atmospheric generator goes and a variety of other minor issues. But in combat, there are a few things that will be necessary. We have someone who is at navigation will also be controlling shielding. You'll control where those go, how to reallocate that kind of thing. We have an engineer who can do repairs and things like that. We have two turrets, one on either side of the ship that will pop out and have a full 180 degree arc all the way around the side. Can't go all the way around the ship. On either side, which will allow two individuals to help take part in that. Your vessel, of course, does have cloaking technologies, but you cannot attack while it is active, or you will break that field. So think, Star Trek style cloaking. So each one of you can find a place on the ship to go. You, of course, do have a very tiny mess. You do have next to no sleeping quarters available. There's really only one major room, and then the hold. Some people have cots set up inside the hold from the old crew that used to take this ship and use it. And then, of course, you have the crawl spaces, which is where you go to repair various things that are on this ship. So at this moment, I am going to kick us forward just a little bit, as each one of you has kind of decided where you want to hang about, what's going to be your combat station in the situation where you get into one, and describe the events that are coming up next. So, going after the Kailis, you happen to see it in the distance. You've approached Leifei. You've got some basic information on how to fly and use this ship. You now know some of the major systems, not necessarily everything. You'll still need to make some rolls to make them work appropriately. But somebody who's sitting at the nav console also has basically a radar function, so they can actually sense objects nearby using this on-screen pip that just keeps coming up over and over again. And I'm gonna say, Umbra, did you take that position, being that might be something
Sure.
you're good at? All right,
Let's go for it.
so Umbra, we switched to seeing Umbra's face lit in this kind of purpley green light, and there's this constant flashing that's occasionally happening as you're watching the locations, the latitude, longitude, and zetitude, whatever that's called for the third dimensional axis. I can't think of it at the moment. And you happen to see the ping. Ching! That is the ship in the distance showing up. You believe this might be yours, or it might be someone else's.
I believe we might have found our possible targets.
Oh, good. I think I'm starting to get less feeling in my legs from sitting here for so long.
Yeah, we'll do that for you. It was
On the
mainly
chair,
designed for
Umbra,
tiny legs.
You know that there is a button on the chair itself that'll give leg massagers that'll pop out to make sure to keep your circulation flowing?
That's such a shame. Boop. I hope that it gets better for you.
He turns his on but doesn't bother to tell you how to use yours. So, what position did you take, Roland? Where are you at? Are you in arms? You in the engine room? You working somewhere else on the ship? Shields? Roland!
Sorry.
What position did you take aboard the ship? Are you gonna...
Yeah. So Roland, having been a pastor, can actually cook. It's not very good. It's more of like a lot of food, but Roland can cook. So Roland is actually going to take position down on the starboard side of the mess, with the presumption that he is going to grab the starboard side turret.
Okay, just in case you need to, you can jump into that. Starboard side turret access point is actually located in a small panel that's just above the sink, so that makes sense.
Excellent. That's perfect. So Roland can make a nice roux before dinner while also operating the gun. Excellent. Perfect.
There you go. Conrad, where did you set yourself up in this?
Conrad's gonna. Hello?
Can hear you.
Yep.
Conrad's gonna set themselves up in the engine room, just work on the engine until they fall asleep. When they fall asleep, they're just kind of gonna sort of wedge themselves inside of the machinery, just off to the side, away from any sort of staring predators.
One of those nice warm locations you'd normally find a cat. We instead find Conrad curled up inside of, sleeping.
Occasionally petting Ghost Cat.
Ghost cat,
Yay.
of course. So we have Umbra at the navigation console. We've got Leifei flying. Clarion, where do you set up?
Guns. Does that require any strength, or is that mostly just awareness, agility?
It's awareness primarily.
Okay. Clarion might claim the port gun then.
Okay, so if you set yourself up here, you could use this small room as a medical or a sick bay as well, if you wanted to do that.
Sure.
So that allows you to keep your position as a doctor aboard the ship. And we'll ask B when B returns where she would like to set up. So we have all of you at the ship right now, and you see the approaching vessel, and we have the scene fade a little bit to everyone sitting around a table inside the cockpit, basically, up there on the main deck. And all of you are sitting there planning out what's going to happen next. So you know that this is a merchant vessel. It's much larger than your ship. Umbra, you're aware that it has not only the standard defense weapons in array, but maybe some advanced stuff, because this is likely a fake vessel that happens to have the AD agents aboard. And they may have more defenses than you had initially anticipated. There are a few operations you could pull here. You could try to sneak in. Your vessel can go invisible temporarily. You could get in close to it, dock with it, try to sneak on board, get the element of surprise, and then go from there. You could try to go in guns blazing, take out their weapons, take out their engines, and then dock on the ship. Or you could just blitz it and just see what happens. So what does that scene look like as all of you are sitting around the table planning for how you're going to handle this engagement?
So, those are the options. Does any one of them sound better than any other? I mean, it might be fair to say that we might be better suited for in-person combat than ship-to-ship combat. I don't know if stealth and boarding would be the best strategy here, but I'm open to suggestions.
I'm certainly thinking that we could bring it in the ship up near it in the stealth mode. Open up an air pocket with the shields open wide, and have a couple of us get in there sneaky-like. I was trained in that art back when I was on Myocenas.
I happen to agree with the captain and have done similar operations in the past.
So 2 for the
But it's your
stealth
ship.
option.
I'm alright sneaking on
sure.
board.
So if you're looking for a channel to sneak into, you can try to just get into the hold itself. Umbra, you're aware that this vessel should have an access port in the hold on the outside of the ship. There's also a small engineer's vent that leads into... Basically, it's a excess computer operations room with supplies and things like that they have old and outdated equipment usually in. So you have 2 points of entry you could try to make if you are going to try to sneak up on this thing.
Well, we have two different options. So I think that that strategy certainly would work.
Sneaking in through the hold of the enemy's ship could put you in a position where you run into employees. If you go into the other room, however, it'll be a little bit farther away from your targets you're looking for, but will be less likely to have anybody you bump into right away.
So how do we want to get into a scrap real quick, or do we wish to try to hit them from behind?
Let's go 2. I like a lay of the land.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to be outnumbered, I presume. Regardless of their combat capabilities, it's, in my opinion, best if we get the first hit.
Captain, you sure all right if your husband goes with you on this mission?
What?
I was not aware that Leifei and Roland had gotten married.
Really?
Technically,
That-
Leifei would be the one that has to marry us because he is the captain. However, I could marry us because I am a parson, but you would all have to be part of my church.
You know, I really don't like you, Reverend. What's your name?
Reverend Parson Roland St. James September, and I don't actually care how you feel about me, sir.
Your call, Princess.
But yeah, I'm fine with Roland coming along.
All right.
He's quite a shot.
So we have a little bit of a montage of everybody gathering their equipment and their gear, getting ready to, lock and load and do this thing. And then we see that scene from before. Leifei flying up on it. Umbra noticing the pip on the radar. He's seeing this vessel in the distance. Leifei, you can see it through the main screen in front of you. Rather large ship. It's a class 4, so it's about like 5 times larger than what you're currently in. And as you start your approach, we see you flip a switch, and then the outside of the vessel kind of gets all wavy for a second, and then becomes see-through. As you approach, we're going to have you make a couple of rolls when we return after tonight's break. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. We'll be back in about 10 minutes. Grab yourself a drink, grab yourself a snack, and return to us on the other side of this transition I'm about to make. Transition and hello! Yes, we are back with the Delinquents here, preparing to engage a vessel in the darkness of the void. Lefe, we see you there. We see the ship up ahead. Give the orders, Captain. What is everybody doing right now? How are you gonna tell them you're about to engage?
Arr.
All right, we've set up beside the ship. Have we set up beside the ship already?
You're approaching. You're approaching.
We're approaching the ship. We're in stealth right now. I'm going to be opening up the vessel's air pocket. We're probably going to be wanting to jump off sometime soon.
You may wish to actually attach, there are clamps on the bottom and the top of this vessel, to that other ship in an effort to make sure your ship stays there while it's traveling and nobody's driving.
Fantastic.
We're gonna
That's what I was going to say next.
We're going to say you're going to leave Beatrix behind at the moment to make sure that the ship doesn't go anywhere.
She's bodyguard for 2. So perfect. B's going to be staying behind. While we clamp on, I'll get the pocket open up. The 4 of you heading in first, and then I'll follow after when everything's set.
You will want to make sure in this moment that you don't do anything that alerts the attention of the vessel. You also need to make sure that when you touch down to grab on and latch on to the vessel with yours, that you do it very gently and don't cause a bunch of noise. That could set off some alarms, that could bring some attention to you. You're attaching roughly in the middle of the vessel on the underside of it, on the hull. There is a small access panel. Everybody will have to climb through there. So, Lefe, as you get closer, and as everybody else is in position, where do you all move to? Are you going to set up right next to the exit port that goes up through the top of the vessel, or are you going to stay at your stations until the last moment? Roland?
Roland's pretty quick. He'll stay by the guns, just in case.
Okay, so Roland's going to stay by the guns. Clarion?
Clarion's going to oversee the clamping process.
Okay, so you will be up there on the deck with Lefe assisting with that process, but that means you'll be further away from the deck, the hatch. Umbra?
I think once we get to the point where the basically the radar or the sensors, basically the nav bench is no longer needed, he would move to the docking port.
Okay,
So I think he'd be more prepped.
once you get close enough, then you move to the docking port. So
Yeah.
you'll be one of the first ones on. And Conrad, do you go to docking? Do you stay near weapons? Do you stay near the engine just in case? What are you doing?
The engine just in case, but knowing Conrad, they're probably not too far away from Umbra.
Okay. So the engine's not that far from the hatch anyways. It's right in the center of the ship. So from your position, you kind of wait. Umbra, you get closer. You see the vessel start moving in. Lefe, you've never dealt with this kind of technology before. Previously, you had always been seen when you were this close, and there's a bit of nerves kind of bubbling up. Your still mind practices come into place. Give me a tough roll just to see if you can hold your cool.
You know it.
Yarg.
That is a 13. You
8
see
+ 5,
a
13.
bead of sweat roll down the temple on Lefe's face, but he still stares at this thing with intention and begins moving the ship closer and closer and closer. Give me an agile roll now, Lefe, as you attempt to dock quickly, quietly, and covertly. All
Certainly.
K word or C word, it's whatever.
All words.
All words. It's a Q word
All
and a
the
C word.
words.
That'll be a 15 + 4
19.
for 19.
Excellent. Lefe maneuvers the ship in expertly. There's the lightest of dink, and then you hear a ch. And Lefe, you can now tell your crew that you have latched on.
All right. Thanks, Clarion. I think we're in. Take a step forward. I'll make sure this thing is secure.
You're so welcome. Clarion will activate the stealth cloaking on her electronic wrist thingamajig.
Okay, then you see light starting to bend around Clarion a little bit as well. So Umbra, at the stop, you hear the clamps click in. You begin climbing the ladder. Umbra starts heading up the ladder. Conrad, you follow after Umbra? All right, so Conrad comes up after Umbra. That puts Clarion walking up the back. Roland, do you head at the same time as the captain tells you to go?
Yeah,
or-
I think Roland will probably end up being last.
All right, so you go last, although Leifei has stayed with the vessel for a
Second to
while.
last. Sorry, that's right. Leifei is like actual last. My B.
And then B walks over to you, Leifei. All right, be good. Good luck. Come back with lots and lots of loot.
You know it. And keep Umbra's ship safe.
Okay. She see her like sit in the chair and kind of bounce a little bit and look at all these buttons.
I know. Umbra's doing graffiti on it, so I mean it's free game now.
Oh.
It wasn't my graffiti.
Do you have crayons?
No, but I think I saw some in the back somewhere.
I will go check. And you see her like get up and immediately go running down the hall.
Conrad gives Beatrix the marker, so it's just like floating outside of the distortion field, and says, "Here, do not add anything unhelpful."
Okay. You see her grab it and thank you, Clarion. And then she rushes back to the chair and immediately starts drawing on the console.
All right. So, let's get to work then.
All right, everybody climbs the ladder and heads up to the outside. The shielding has given you a small tunnel, which, while you're inside of it, you're able to breathe, and it's fine. You make it to the hatch. Umbra, you're the first one there. There's an engineering hatch on the outside. It is hermetically sealed to protect against the void, to protect against vacuum. So you will need to get past that first. How do you attempt to open it? It is a metal riveted hatch with a circular opening panel. You know, like on an old ship, they twist it a whole bunch of times, unlocks, they pull it apart. You don't know if it's locked or not, but that's what it looks like. So how do you approach this?
So basically, the standard way in would be physically just cranking it over and trying to see if it works.
All right, so you walk up, you grab a hold of it, you twist real hard, and give me a strong roll.
This is more him just being like, will the door just push open? 14.
You struggle for a second, but like a pickle jar that finally gives way, the last little twist makes a screeching noise as you turn it. A few twists in, and the hatch is open. As you pull it up, you now squeeze into the tunnel. You're small enough that it's relatively easy for you. I don't think anybody here is actually that huge, so all of you can squeeze into it pretty easily. And we now have you on board the vessel with Umbra up in front, Conrad directly behind, Leifei at the back, Clarion in between, and Roland St. James together. I'm now sharing a map. You should see your character icons. And you're inside of a small room filled with old wiring and whatnot as you climb through these final tunnels. Somebody at the back, I guess, Roland, you reach back and grab a hold of Leifei's hand and pull him into the room with you. You now find yourselves on board this vessel. You can hear music. You'd swear that was like carnival music or maybe some sort of like party. Maybe they're playing music for passengers. You don't know. It's kind of a bit muted through the walls. And all you can see inside of this room is that there's an old hatch that doesn't seem to be much used on the north end of the wall.
So we came from, what,
You
the
came
west
from
side
the
of this?
west, yeah. So
Yeah.
to the left.
Yeah. And there's a door there.
So if you
So
would
just like-
now, since we're in this situation, roll initiative, and we'll see who goes first, and we'll play from that point. We have a 15 from Clarion.
Strong 9. Very strong.
B is unfortunately not on this map. We've got ourselves a 19 from Leifei. We have a 18 from Roland.
Conrad was on that struggle bus but pulled out a 24.
Nice. Conrad with the ace, pulling out a 24. Putting himself pretty high up on the tier. And the only one we had left, Selfies, you got a 14.
I got a 9.
You got a 9. Oh, I was looking at the wrong one.
I rolled a 13 and it turned into a 9.
Yeah, there you go. So, that means Conrad is first. You see Self is kind of looking around. Umbra's looking around Conrad, but he's not entirely certain what step to take in this moment. But it is your turn now. So there is a door just directly north of you. As you look at it, something about it seems off. What do you want to do?
I'm gonna sniff it.
You smell it. You can smell the mixture of metals, soft metals, lead and pewter and things like that, in welding, whatever that's called. I can't remember the specific name for it. Anyways, it has been welded shut from the other side. You can smell that.
And there's nothing else?
I mean, there's plastic. There's the smell of machinery, electricity moving through things, ozone and whatnot. The room doesn't seem to have the smell of individuals, although you can smell, maybe food? Give me an aware roll to see how much further you can sense. And there's an ace provided to Conrad from Annika. Look at that, with a 22. What are you trying to smell? And I'll tell you if you have smelled it or not.
I'm trying to smell for fear or anger.
Fear or anger. You get jealousy somewhere, but you don't smell fear or anger.
Conrad taps Umbra on the shoulder, makes a X sign on the door as if to say, no, we are not going through this door.
It's the only way in.
Conrad is going to very hesitantly open the door.
You press against the door, and it doesn't budge because it was welded from the other side.
Yes. I'm gonna. Nope, it's not my turn. Never mind.
Conrad, do you notify the others that it's been welded?
Yeah.
All right. So Conrad tells you. Leife from the back, you hear Conrad say it's been welded shut. How do you react? What do you do at the moment? Do you wait?
We'll need to figure out another way in.
Or find a way through a welded door.
Perhaps there's something in here. And Leif is going to look around at the walls. It's covered in wiring, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Give me an aware
So
roll
he's
as
gonna-
you search the walls.
Yeah, he's going to examine it, try and figure out what these wires do.
Okay. With an
That'll
11, you can tell that they do something on this ship.
Fantastic. So they are connected. So somebody does come... okay. Somebody does come in here, if these are still working and they're not dysfunctional wires. Alright, so... perhaps there's a way through after all. I'm not sure, though. Do any of you have a way to open up a welded door without causing a scene?
Not with the second bot.
If perhaps our mage could create some sort of area of silence, me and Sheldon could figure some way to unweld the door.
Hold on a moment. Ty,
Yes, go ahead.
how is the door fixed to the wall?
There is a hinge on the inside door right next to you, and then there's welding material that has been burned around the outside. It seems like there's a metal rim around the outside that the door's been welded to.
Ty, I hate you. I hate you because the door is welded on all sides.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna take the pins off of it, but
All right, Roland. What are you doing at this moment as Leife is trying to do the captaining thing? You see that this door seems to be welded from one side. There's wiring in here. You hear the muted noise of music somewhere outside.
Is it dark in this room?
Very much so. There's just a small amount of light creeping in from around some of the not damaged sections, but the gaps that are existing in the welding.
Roland kind of like puts his hands out in a very holy way and then begins to emit light in the room.
Suddenly, Roland begins glowing, and the room becomes brighter to everyone.
Yeah, perhaps this will help us in our path.
Princess, what are you doing?
Well, they can't see us through the cracks in the door because they're welded shut, so we might as well be able to see what's going on in here.
Can't see. These pirates sneak on board the ship and just lock themselves in a room. Sorry, I find that humorous. So Roland, you emit light, and do you do anything else?
Roland is going to take a look at the hinges. Are the hinges damaged by the welding, or did they weld around them?
They welded.
Like such.
So the hinges are on the inside of the door. So if they're on like this side of where my thumb is, and then the welding is on the outside of the door, all the way around it. The welding is not perfect. There are spots where they missed a little bit, and some light is coming through.
Oh, it's whatever. I mean, if we can just undo the welding somehow, the door should just swing open.
So metal, in this case, without it being iron or mithril, is subject to magic, and metal counts as earth element.
Oh, I'm not messing with that. I'm not doing it. Nope.
Roland steps back away from it a little bit.
This, however, is not my path. Someone else can solve this conundrum.
So Clarion, you are up now. Is there something you wish to do?
Okay. Yeah, Clarion, so my PDO has elemental effects. Does that include, like, just fire, ice, and electrical, or would that include other aether aspects?
It's fire. It's all elemental aether aspects. So fire, wind, lightning, earth, and water. Those are the 5 elements.
Okay.
But you expulse them. You don't change them or anything necessarily.
Okay. That's true. But she was able to tweak the electrical to do magnetic.
Yeah.
I think she wants to make the heat to look at the fire option to see if she can get a very thin ray of heat.
So you're gonna calibrate to like plasma cut the door open?
Yeah, if that's the only option we have. But she also activates Sheldon and has him look for any vents or anything.
Sheldon begins buzzing around the room a little bit, and I'm looking for vents. He just kind of starts buzzing near you.
Yeah.
After a moment, Sheldon states, I have found an access point for myself. Should I go through it?
Yes, please.
Sheldon flies up through a section that happens to have, it's where wiring comes down, but the coupling is just thin enough that Sheldon's able to kind of squeeze through and then buzz out of it. Sheldon moves into the room beyond. Do I have Sheldon still as a token? That's a question. Let me grab that if I do. Give me just a second here.
That is a good question.
I should. And that would be under... Yeah, we'll use that one. Come here, Sheldon. We're going to use the old Sheldon image that we had before because I don't have the new one set up yet. We'll put him in here. There we go. So Sheldon moves into the beyond and relays back to you. This room looks like it is for any additional work necessary on the electronics. There is nobody in the room at the moment. The door that you are stuck behind has a large red tape across it saying damaged.
I see. Thank you. And then she reports this to the others and says, I could cut it with my personal device here.
Perfectly suitable.
So do you wish to use the overload and roll brains to make a little plasma cutter and try to get working on that, or do you want to wait?
Are we freely able to discourse outside of our turn?
Discoursing's fine, yes.
I can just change the elements on the weld and just free the door.
If that's something you can do easily, then I would welcome it.
Yeah.
So Selphis goes next as Clarion waits, holding the PDO and preparing to do a plasma torch type thing. Selphis, what do you do?
So I have elemental aether level 1, I guess. So I can alter elements. The Aether Mage can effortlessly change one element into another within range 2 at a rate of 1 range per elemental level. So could I just go around, just basically slowly change all the earth seals to like water?
Absolutely. So just roll magical, and as long as no chaos effect occurs, Umbra just moves to the door. You see magic starting to seep from his hands. As he rings his fingers just around the edge, you see the metal that's there evaporating into water, and then the door just falls off and opens. And
I truly do
I rolled a
understand
9.
money.
Yeah.
it was the non-opposed roll, so you still succeeded as long as you didn't crit fail.
Okay.
So yes, Aether Mages have to roll on every magical roll just to see if chaos happens. If you get a 1. So the door is open. Selphis, you can step through first. You can see the little robot like hovering out there.
I did my part. I'm gonna let other people go through.
Selphis is gonna wait. Okay. So we go up to the next initiative. Conrad, you are next on the list. That door has went and fallen outward. Did you try to stop it from making a bang noise as it hits the stone outside, by the way, Umbra?
Yes.
All right.
He knows to at least be somewhat stealthy, so he would prefer to not make a noise.
So give us a brains roll, and we'll see how successful you were at stopping it from banging as it hit the floor.
Here, brains. 16.
Excellent. So you let it down, and as you pull apart the seams, basically, it gets to that last little bit, kind of like a can that you've opened, and you kind of hinge it up a little, and then you push it down, and it squeaks, touches the floor edge, turned into water, and disconnected. So it didn't make much noise. All right, Conrad, you're up. That door is open now.
Conrad is going to sneak into the room.
You step into the room. That is 2 of your movement, so you can start moving here on your own now. We'll go 1 movement at a time, and I'll describe what you see, and if you end up having to fight or use other abilities, we'll do that at that point. So, stepping out into the room, you can see a few old consoles nearby that seem to have some unknown purpose. There's electricity moving through them, lights are blinking upon them, and there's a grate in the floor nearby that happens to have a bit of heat and steam rising from it. As you step around the corner, you can see there is wiring all over the place in here. Whoever their engineer and technician is has a really bad job of putting these wires together in some sort of neat and organized position.
Now that I've moved, can I spend my remaining action to figure out what exactly is going on in this room?
Certainly. So looking around, you can see that there is some of the ship's basic functions controlled inside of this room. They are put together poorly, it seems. Almost like whatever this room was, it was taken from an old and derelict ship. Maybe there's a shiny patina on the outside of this vessel, indicating that it is something that it is not.
Hey, brass lady.
Yes.
Something's off. Can your little birdie jack in somewhere? I don't like this.
Yes, I can make that happen.
All right,
And she will tell Sheldon to do exactly that.
Conrad, you smell cordite. You smell black rubber boots, and you smell armor and metal move by somewhere near close to where you're at.
Doing this, Conrad is quickly, and more specifically quietly, going to take Sheldon and stuff them in their mouth.
Sheldon is now inside of Conrad's overly large mouth at the moment.
Sheldon, I imagine it's only his body and that his jetpacks, which are rather
Yes.
large, on either side.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
okay, Sheldon. Calm down. Was that necessary?
You can see through Sheldon's readouts that Conrad's tonsils are a little swollen.
Conrad is going to, with a clawed hand, lick their palm and just snuff out Sheldon's engines like he's hiding a cigarette, and
I will disengage my boosters in order not to burn our friend. Yes.
You just have to ask him, Conrad. It's not necessary to do it yourself. He understands simple commands.
I can accept over 1,600 different words in multiple languages.
Conrad just eyes glaze over, completely forgets the fact that there's something soldier-like around the corner.
Alright. Leifei, you're up in the back of the crew. You see that the Selfish has gotten that door off. Conrad has moved inside, and now Clarion is talking to her little droid, who seems to have been consumed by Conrad.
Leifei is gonna slip into the other room.
Go ahead and move your character for me, if you would.
I believe he has 6.
He does. So you move out. You have to move to the doorway first, and then beyond from there.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, I believe.
Yes, that would be 3 to the door, and then you can move out.
4 to there.
So stepping out.
Ooh, actually,
Go ahead.
walking in, can he 4 over to the vent?
Yes. So you go to the vent over here instead.
Yeah.
As you approach the vent, you can see that there's a bit of heat, and there's a sensation of warmth coming out of it. This does appear to be air conditioning. The vent is narrow, but if you wish to, you could potentially climb through it.
Certainly.
Leifei, do you hold your ground there? Do you say anything to your crew?
Do we have what is it? What are the masks called again? The Aether Tech.
Safe tech?
Safe Tech.
Yeah, each of you should have a 20-minute safe tech.
So do we have comms on those still?
Yes, but they could be picked up by anything that's listening.
Right. So he's going to start prying this off.
Do you wish to try to do this quietly and carefully, or are you just going to brute force it off the hinges?
Quietly.
All right. Give me a brains roll to see if you can determine how you could open this up easily.
Certainly. That'll be a 9 total.
All right. The only thing you know is that it requires a few different star screw heads. They're also like a 1/4 inch, pretty big around the edges of this thing. It's going to require a specialized tool or some tricks to get through the grate.
Yeesh. Tricky business. He's gonna turn back, and can he whisper this far away?
You are like 20 feet away. A loud whisper would reach.
So he'll essentially hold a whisper of "there's a vent here" for anybody that walks in the room.
Okay.
So anybody that walks in the room will be able to hear that. There's a vent here. It might lead to somewhere.
Roland, you are up.
Roland deactivates the light, and then I'm really bad at moving myself in this, but I'll try.
I believe in you.
You did it! You move
Hey!
out. You move out, and Leifei whispers to you, "There's a vent over here." And then you see Conrad standing there with a mouth that's bulging like a chipmunk, with engines sticking out the backside of his mask.
Roland looks down at Leifei. Seems to me that confusion might be our ally here. If any of these systems in here are critical, we could just turn them off.
We could, but then that'd probably mean they'd come in here.
Yeah, and they wouldn't be expecting us.
That's a start.
If that's what you want, Captain. Otherwise, I can crawl through that
Wait,
lukewarm vent.
These are DAD, right?
Possibly.
Or who owns this ship?
Did you tell them that it was a DAD secret DAD ship and not a merchant vessel like you originally told them?
Oh, right.
No, I just said merchant vessel.
Yeah, this is a merchant ship.
Brother Conrad, now is not the time for snacking.
Princess? Captain? I think there may be more going on. I think there may be more going on than I thought.
Oh,
What's that?
And there's a guy around the corner with a gun, possibly a soldier. I don't know.
I don't think that's entirely unexpected. They must have some gods here.
Oh my god, by the way, you need a shower, Roland.
It's a patina, and I have gotten compliments on my musk in the past. Thank you, sir.
It is pituitary.
All right. So,
Anyhow,
Roland, you climbed out. You had a discussion with everybody at the moment. We're gonna move on to Clarion. So, Clarion, you're still inside of there, obviously. Do you give any orders to Sheldon, and what do you do?
Yeah, I tell him to basically just do what Conrad wants him to do. Shut off his engines and
I will remain a snack. And you now, what do you do?
I will come in and demand my droid back. Well, back.
All right. So Clarion walks back out there and then turns. Conrad standing there just with his mouth full of your robot, your droid.
Why? Just why?
Ugh.
I will
And-
make sure that my droid is as stealthy as he can be.
Conrad is going to slowly open their mouth and spit the droid out.
Conrad's
in jewel.
mouth opens wider than should be possible for a halfling.
I will have to check your tonsils later.
You show me yours, I'll show you mine.
What does that mean?
she's an automaton, Conrad. She doesn't have tonsils.
But Conrad is an engineer, so...
Robotic
He's
uvula.
saying he's not going to show his.
Oh, jeez.
We'll make it a date, Conrad.
Excellent. I'll get you some nice coolant fluid. Maybe put on my best rags. But that's besides the point. There's a guy around the corner with a gun.
At a certain point, we're going to have to take a risk.
So, Selphis, you're the last one in the closet. What are you doing?
Clarion
Shut up, Ty.
wants to do off Sheldon of all of the spit and takes out some antiseptic, like, wipe him down.
So you polish Sheldon and try to get the gross of Conrad's mouth off of him. Selphis,
him.
you step out.
Oh, that's
What are you-
four,
what are you doing for?
And I'm just trying to see how far I can get. I will join the group. That's 5. And That's all I do for now.
Okay. Next round, top of initiative, we now have Conrad there. Sans a robot. So what do you do next?
I'm gonna do a move action. I'm going to do a move action to move around the corner, just barely enough. So about 4 spaces, so that I can peek around the corner.
All right. So you peek around the corner, and you can see that there again is more decrepit wiring everywhere. There's a small light on the wall to your right that seems to be broken. You can see bullet holes in the wall here as well. And the doorway off in front of you is currently closed. There's a lit panel next to it that seems to be the way that you open and close this door.
I'm going to use my other move action to get close to the door and give it and can I give it a sniff?
Yes. So you'll move over there. Give me an aware roll as you... This
I'm gonna
time...
ace that.
Okay. Critical
I'm going to ace
failure.
that.
Okay. All right, with
I'm gonna take
17, 17's pretty good. You can tell that the soldiers, or whatever they were, there was 2 of them, and they have traveled west. So they've gone this direction, wherever it is. You can smell old boxes. You can smell expired food.
Conrad is going to stay where they are. They're not going to speak. They're just going to try and focus not to think about the food.
Okay. Things move throughout the ship. And Leifei, you are back up. So, Roland has recommended maybe setting something off in here to get someone to come and check so that maybe you can take him out. Or you could continue trying to sneak out through the vessel or head down through the vents. What are you choosing to do at the moment, Leifei?
So he doesn't know what the wires can do, though.
Not at the moment.
Okay.
Nobody's really identified what any of these are for.
Is anything labeled? Like, evidently?
No.
Okay.
The people here know what these do already.
That would be too easy.
Today.
So, he's gonna patrol around this room. He's gonna patrol around the room and try and figure out if anything is snappable, bendable, or if he can just flick something and just turn things off.
All right, so the consoles directly to your right that are here set in the wall. Some of them happen to have levers and switches on them directly on the outside of the devices. You could break them. You could switch them. You're not sure what any of these things do at the moment.
Leifei just mumbles to himself, I wish we had Red Ioun here right now.
I mean,
He could
being able to
just
talk to these
this.
machines might be helpful.
He could just talk to this right now. And there's actually like a deep-hearted sigh.
Aww.
Oh.
All right. But we don't. So, next step, he's going to follow Conrad.
Okay. You walk around the
And
corner.
as he moves by, he's going to say that I have no idea what any of this stuff does in here. So if we're going to figure out a way to get somebody to come in here, it's not going to be me. Because I read a book earlier today, and it took forever. And that's all that's on my mind right now.
So Leifei looks at these things, walks past while talking to all of you, and heads over towards Conrad.
Conrad, hearing this, is Leifei trying to figure out what everything does?
He was for a minute, and then decided against it, and just decided to come to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roland, you're up.
Roland's gonna catch up to Leifei and Conrad.
Okay.
Oh, all the way like over here.
There you go.
Gentlemen, I have an idea, if you wouldn't mind me sticking my neck out some.
What do you want, princess?
I can distract the gentlemen with the guns outside for a little while, and you all creep on around.
Hi, they're walking away from us.
Maybe they're walking in the direction of what we're trying to find. Do we even know where we're going?
Not really.
Usually towards where the most people are. That's usually where all the stuff is. And probably the best place where we can get something.
Okay, so that's problematic. We need some kind of a distraction, chaotic or social something. Something needs to get these people's attention so that you can have run of the ship.
All right.
Do you have a 4-year-old and a hand grenade?
We did, but we left her on the ship.
I can figure out the hand grenade situation.
Never mind, that's...
All right. So is Roland gonna peek his head out? Is that the plan?
Yeah, Roland's just gonna take a little look-see, just a little.
All right. You walk over to the door. There's a panel next to it that seems to have some buttons that just indicate open, lock, close. That's basically it.
Open it.
Door opens up. You find a very well-lit hall with blinking lights that go up and down the entire wall side, and a nice corridor. Just peeking your head out, just a little bit, and off to the side you see boots and suits kind of walk around a corner, just out of the edge of your field of view.
Roland does like a hand gesture, like guns that way, and then like doors the other way.
Liffy nods.
Gestures for door.
Gives the affirmative, but has used like all of his actions.
All right, so that is Roland's turn. Roland, give me an aware roll as you're standing there. You pointed those out to everybody. As you're standing there and you point out there, you hear very quickly a sound behind you as a door opens off in the distance, off to the east side, and somebody begins walking up the hall, wearing a bit of a suit, goggles, mask, everything. Got the mask down, carrying equipment and tools around their belt. They seem to be coming in your direction. At the moment, they haven't noticed you yet.
Roland very quickly closes the door and then like steps back and then like tries to very, very quietly indicate to Leifei and Conrad, like, someone's coming. Let's get them knuckle dusters out and ambush this fool.
So give me an agile roll to see how quickly you make it through the door, to see if this individual is able to see you at all. All right. From outside, you hear a hey, like somebody had just basically barely noticed you, but they didn't recognize you, and the individual walks over to the door immediately, and outside of it, you hear the console panel nearby getting touched, and then there's a so he goes to open it at the same time that you just closed it. Do you want to try to keep it closed? You want to lock it? You want to let it open?
Open it, open it, open it, open it, open it, open it.
Open it? We want to do open it? I was thinking lock it, because this door is probably on the fritz a lot.
Open it.
Roland lets it open.
Upon opening the door, seeing a masked individual standing inside of there in a hood and a priest, they don't know what to think, so I'm going to have Roland, who chose to open it, say high or low, and we'll see how this goes.
We haven't met. I know this might look like a joke.
A priest and a werewolf walk into a bar.
A priest, a werewolf, and a pirate
and a
walk
pirate.
into a merchant bar.
Yes, you're all there.
All right, how do I do
that? So just say high or low.
Low.
You say low, and we go. All right. So the individual looks over to you. What language were you speaking in, by the way?
Avalonian.
Avalonian. All right. Not a bad choice based on where this ship came from. Speaking back to you in Avalonian, the individual there goes, "This location's off limits, you know."
I understand. You know, we haven't had the opportunity to meet. My name is James Cross. I usually make it a point to introduce myself to everyone aboard whatever vessel that I'm on. I got turned around looking for my cabin, and I wandered into here.
So, what aspects of summer are you supposed to be representing? I mean, each one of you is in costume, sure, but this seems a little strange. And all three of you men in this room, hidden off to the side, trying not to be noticed? I don't know.
It's just dark in here, friend.
So you went someplace dark together. You know, fraternization is not acceptable inside of off-limit locations, okay?
Roland is going to
Where else
Conrad's-
are we supposed to fraternize?
Steps forward and says, "Hi," in their best halfling.
They don't respond when you say that in Halfling. Looking over at your friend, he looks down. Strange company you keep. I don't care
up wrench.
how you do it, but all of you need to head back. There are bunks. You have your own cabins. Use those.
like I'm saying, I got turned around. What room even is this?
Give me a
Points to
charming
wall.
roll to see how well this individual is accepting your lies at the moment, since you seem to be going along with this. That's an 11. They're going to now roll to resist your charm. And they get a 16.
Ooh.
So at this point, they're going to be growing suspicious. They have not yet sounded the alarm. If you're okay with that becoming suspicion, we can continue.
I actually don't have a choice.
Okay. So while suspicion is happening, we'll continue moving. We'll come back to this in just a second. Clarion, you are still back in the room. You've got your droid with you. You hear the sounds of talking starting to come from the front of this room.
Clarion wants to figure out what the wires are for and if she can hack into the ship's intranet.
All right, so you walk over to check on the wiring, and of course you're assisted by Sheldon. Give me a brains roll as you start looking into these things.
I lost my computer again, so I'm just gonna roll a d20.
Alrighty. And you get a plus 5, I believe?
Do it. Oh my gosh, you got a 20!
Yes. You get a plus 5.
7 on the die, plus 5 is 12.
12. With a 12, and we'll have Sheldon assist. So I'm gonna have him roll as well. The other roll. Here we go. Sheldon gets a 16, 17, 18 total, giving you a plus 3. So you have a 15. With a 15, you can tell that some of these lines are power. Some of them seem to be connected to heating, to various other machines inside of the ship. And there is one of them here that you're not entirely certain you can figure out what it's for, but it's also carrying a huge power load, whatever it is. None of these appear to be ship Ethernet cables.
Gotcha. Probably want somebody who's more magically savvy to look at the other cables. Sylphie's still back here.
Yes. Umbra's still in the room with you, Self-Iz is. Everybody else has gone forward.
She will, as quietly as she can, gesture him over.
Alright, Self-Iz, it is your turn now, so you can move over to Clarion if you wish.
Do I hear how bad it's going at the door?
Give me an aware roll. Remember that you don't hear much that isn't
Oh,
messed
you're
up by
right.
shadows.
Oh, you are very right, my friend. That is a solid 8.
With an 8, all you can hear is whispered talking. You hear a bunch of whispered talking coming from every corner of the room, however. Some of the shadows seem to be talking about, I don't know, some sort of activity. There's this statement coming from one of them, like, was it you? Was it you after all? Were you there on Avalon? Did you kill their families?
Being slightly distracted, Sulfus was gonna move around the corner, but seeing Miss Bell gesture me over, I will follow suit.
All right, so you move over to Clarion. And what does the conversation look like between the two of you?
This wire is carrying a considerable load. I need you to figure out if it's magical in nature, and if it is, deal with it.
Can I do such a thing?
Use magical just to determine what you can see about this wire.
Aja.
So you reach out into the aether and you extend your
I extend my
your
ace
senses.
into the hole.
You extend your ace into the hole, and you get a 12. Not much better.
Oh, it's better.
Sensing the line, you can tell that there's a vast amount of electricity moving through it, and that it seems to be possibly a main line from one side of the ship to the other, bypassing a safe power conduit beneath the ground and is kind of run out across it. You see that this line actually goes into that chamber you had been inside of. It's kind of like a bypass line, so maybe the main line was damaged at one point or another, and they just kind of wired this up in a poor way to send power to the front of the ship. This goes directly to the reactor and directly to like the front of the ship where all of the other systems are.
I relay all that, and it's just like, should we cut it?
If he tells you it's from the reactor, Clarion, if you cut that, lightning's gonna fill this room.
No,
It's fine.
no, that is dangerous for us.
All right. Meh.
All right, we move on to the crew back up front again. The individual is now stating that they're losing their patience with you and telling you that you should return to your cabins. Being here is not acceptable. There seems to be some sort of costume party going on somewhere aboard this vessel. So Conrad, how do you react? Go ahead, sorry.
Conrad takes a wrench, holds it over their head, points behind them to the wires, gestures to their watch, where their watch would be, as if to say, I'm working here, do you mind?
You're right.
And
Your
I
friend,
use... Hang on. Would this be where I use cornered in a social sense?
You aren't currently cornered. Typically there has to be a certain reason for that. Let's see. In the case of cornered, if you're harmed, hit by an attack, cornered by a threat, or attacked physically or socially by more than 2 targets, you can lash out using this ability. So this is only a single target.
Okay. Come on. This is people in uniform, so it's probably Conrad's racking their brain. This is people in uniform, so they're probably like Empire or jerks. So Conrad is gonna try and use a phrase he picked up from an Avalonian soldier to try to make the person go away. It's probably gonna be in broken Avalonian.
Give me a brains roll to see if you see how well you state this, and then we'll see what you say after the fact. Nice. You have a phrase in Avalonian you know how to say. What is that phrase?
Tank won't seem to start. Spark plugs might be messed up. Dinner's at 7.
The individual looks at you in confusion and goes, Is he okay?
Tank's messed up. Might be the spark plugs. Dinner's at 7.
Leife, you are up. I think at this moment is right about the time Roland was asking what this place is even for. How do you react? You and Roland can act in the same time frame here, so both of you can work together in the moment if you'd like.
At this current time, Conrad is also currently distracting them, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. He's just gonna eye over to Roland. And he's at the back right now. His hand is on his weapon.
Roland doesn't actually break eye contact with the gentleman, because that'd be bad. But God, I feel like Roland just sort of does a little fist clench, just a really quiet secret one to indicate to Leife yeah, let's just do it.
So Leife is just gonna move forward right now.
Okay. Do you step forward or do you lunge forward?
Stepping forward essentially is just moving Conrad. Conrad's halfling, correct?
Yeah, pretty tiny.
So I was just gonna move between him and Roland and just start walking forward as if he's leaving the place. That he is leaving the place. He's getting out of the room. And as he does, he's going to come up on this person and grab him by the shoulder and then do a quick headbutt.
Okay. As you move forward, Leife, are you wearing your headphones?
Yes, unfortunately, yeah.
Okay. And as you move up in that direction, this individual gets another chance to look at you. Hey, wait. Those weapons are real. You see him immediately turn to grab a hold of a little radio on his waist as Leife butts his head in, trying to knock this individual out. Go ahead and give me an attack roll.
Certainly. This is
He gets a 1 to defend. McSherry, thank you for the gift subs. McSherry says, "Donde esta la biblioteca?"
Yeah.
Attack roll would be agile.
Yes, just a straight agile roll.
¿Dónde
When you're using a
está
martial
el
art.
baño?
And you get, you
21.
hit. All right, so
Blackjack.
this is going to be your strong plus a d4 for damage. However, in order to knock this threat out, you have to get at least 6 damage to knock him for a loop. So go ahead and give me your roll.
Got it.
Do it.
Bang!
It'll be 7.
Bam!
So Leifei moves between the two of you, steps up. That individual starts calling out about the weapons. Leifei's head just snaps forward, smashes this guy right in between the face, or right in between the eyes, in between the face, the two faces he's wearing. And then he just drops like a sack of potatoes in the hallway. Looking back and forth, you don't see anybody else in the hallway at the moment.
Leifei keeps a hold of them by the shoulder where they'd grabbed them, headbutts them, pulls back, sees them out, turns around. All right, let's get them out of the way.
You all drag that individual back inside with you?
Yeah.
All right, you now have an unconscious engineer inside the room with you all.
All right, fantastic. That's one down. Let's continue.
All right, next up, Roland, what do you do in this moment?
Roland closes the fucking door.
Closes.
And then roots through this guy's pockets to see if he's got an access card.
You are in luck. He does. He has a small keyring and a small encoded mag card.
Hands that over to Leifei, and then goes and checks on Clarion and Umbra.
All right, so you walk around the corner to see them. You see them both standing there staring at giant wires. Umbra kind of holding one up in front of him, and Clarion going, "No, no, 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 no."
Do we know what's going on back here?
We've discovered an electrical bypass for something rather powerful. I've told Umbra not to cut it since that would damage us.
Oh, well, what of what use is cutting it?
Perhaps, if need be, a distraction, a cover. A miss.
It powers the whole front of the ship. You know, cut it, whole ship goes. The front of the ship goes down.
It would disable the power to the front of the ship until a backup generator could kick on.
Well, if you're
But that's
concerned
what
about
voice said.
if you're concerned about danger from being electrified, then everyone can just leave the room and I'll do it.
I think if we do decide to do that, we should be prepared to move quickly. And
Oh,
seeing as
yeah.
how we do not know which direction we are going in, I was trying to access the ship's Ethernet.
Is there an access point from here?
Is there?
Not that you found.
Haven't found one.
Well, we just knocked out a techie and we have an access key.
Good. Clarion immediately leaves, and basically you can assume you have permission to do whatever you want as far as she goes. And she just goes over and asks for the access card.
She walks over to Leifei, who's holding the card, to ask for it.
Immediately darts it over to her hands.
Catch. Now you've got that little magnetic card. Clarion, you have moved over here. South is. What do you do as Clarion leaves?
Everyone else is doing it. Or I can only get to there.
All right. So you step down in front of Roland. You do have 2 actions, so you could move again if you want to do that.
I could
instead of
move
something
again.
else.
Yeah, I'll move again. I'll move further.
So Umbra transitions into a little bit of a jog, runs around the corner, and catches up with everybody there, leaving just Roland kind of towards the back. Conrad, what do you do? Door's been closed. There's an engineer on the floor unconscious. You don't know how long that's going to last for. A concussion like that might be temporary, might only be a couple of minutes, might be hours or even days if Leifei hit him hard enough to, jumble those brains around.
What do we do about this gal?
Guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought with the hair poking out from the side that was... Shows what I know. Yeah. Conrad's gonna steal their radio and can we tie him up?
You pick it up, and as you're holding the radio, you see it's got a couple of little knobs, 3 different channels that it switches between. As you're holding it, you hear radio in positions. How are things looking down the south quarter?
Everything down here looks great.
Northeast? Seems fine. All these party goers. I can't stand them. And, what about over there in engineering?
Turns to Clarion. What do I say?
Clarion will attempt to imitate this man's voice.
Oh,
from what
wait,
she-
no.
They're speaking in Dwarven.
Wait.
I can understand Dwarven.
Conrad, what do you want to do, though? I mean, you had an idea, too.
Yeah. I'm gonna mimic the guy's tone of voice in Clarion's words.
All right. So what are you going to say? And you're going to use mimicry.
How do I say everything is fine in Dwarven?
I will translate that for him.
Okay. So give
I'll
me
cover him.
a charming roll and say everything is fine in Dwarven. Let's see how it comes off. You get +2 to the roll as well, so that gives you a 24. Conrad's voice immediately becomes the exact same as that individual that you just knocked out as he speaks into the radio.
Yeah, everything's fine down here in this sector. Hey, when this is all over, should we grab whiskey and cigars later? It's looking like one of those nights.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Everybody, call back in about 15 minutes. You know the drill.
Lefe gives like the continue the like. Make them do something, bro.
That's all he knows. Conrad knows in Dwarven.
Not even. I
I
would.
mean, even that's more than what Clarion had translated, so I guess he knew, like, one phrase from a guidebook.
And it has to do with alcohol. Of course he knows that one.
I would just like to say that this person doesn't really do us any good unconscious. If we murder him, then I could speak to his fleeting life force and actually get information from him.
Well, now we're talking.
Everybody looks at each other suddenly.
So we just have to just like end it, and then I can just summon the spirit up and speak to it and actually get information from him.
Actually,
Conrad is-
Umbro, I had an idea that I was just going to set him next to this electrical conduit when I deactivate it, and then, nature would run its course. Captain's permission willing.
You're going to allow your crew to brutally murder this individual and use them as both a distraction and as a puppet to speak with?
He's not my captain.
Conrad is already sitting on top of the guy, opening their mouth, getting ready to chew their own head off.
I mean, that one's a little more noticeable if someone were to check on it. See Conrad remove his face mask, and it's nothing but barbed teeth as he opens his mouth Baraka style, prepares to eat this man's face.
So Ty, would I know, or if anyone know, if let's say we set the guy in the room, we use an ability or whatever else to cut the wire to fill the room with electricity, is that just gonna keep going, or is it like it's only for like a split second and then it ends?
It would go until the breakers popped, so it would take only a minute or two.
Well, we could use the Reverend's plan, and I could speak to him afterwards, because the dead is dead. I just need dead. It's up to everyone else. It's just by that time people are coming here. Now they're just not coming here.
I was thinking, popping the conduit would cause a suitable distraction. I can remain behind. I am very distracting.
Better idea.
I would like a chance to look through the Ethernet for what I can find before we do this.
All right, and you, Brother Conrad.
Brass lady, do you have enough drugs to knock this guy out?
Of course.
You have enough drugs to comatose this guy?
Potentially.
Potentially, or yes?
He can always resist the drug cocktail, but I should.
Can you make him dead enough to almost be dead, but not be dead?
What purpose would that serve?
Well, less bonking on this guy's head. Points to Umbra.
I don't think he has a bad plan, but it is the captain's call.
Hey, why do I have to be bugged?
Leifei, what is your order as captain? Do you wish to murder this individual and speak to him? Do you wish to use him as a distraction with the conduits, as well as Roland? Or do you want to just kind of let him stay unconscious, maybe longer term, and just sneak out through the building? It's on you, Captain.
I mean, there's gonna be more dead bodies if we keep going the path we're walking, so...
Like I said, Clarion, when I became captain, I said that I wasn't going to lead anybody truly. You are free to take whatever action you want.
So no arbitration.
But I can also do that. And as I said before to Amos, I'm a killer. And he takes the dagger and just slams in her throat.
Oh, that does it.
You see blood just starts splurting across the room. And,
Okay, seriously, who is this Amos character? This is getting out of hand.
Very well. Conrad, you have fascinating physiology. We'll have to talk about it later.
Yeah, I'll show you mine, you show me yours.
Clarion just turns around and goes to find an access port with the key card and figure out what's what.
Looking around inside of this room, you don't think your answer is going to be in here. Likely a different room inside the station or inside the ship. As blood sprays across the wall and the individual expires, gasping their last breath, choking on it, you kind of have to hold them still because they wake up in the middle of that part. And then as Roland and Leifei and Umbra stand near... Well, Roland's all the way across the room. It's just Leifei and Umbra and Conrad and Clarion nearby. He just kind of thrashes about and sprays blood. You kind of hold your hand over it for a bit. And then he dies. Now there's a corpse in this room with all of you.
Well, what do we want to know? I need questions before I do the thing.
We need to know what our objective is and where it is.
Well, we basically have to get stuff off the ship, so we need to kill all the people or incapacitate all the people that are going to prevent us from doing said stealing. So,
Brother Umbra, can't we, if we just find the location and
Hold
no
up a
one's there,
second.
can't we just take it?
Taking it would be a thing you could do.
Yeah, we can just take it.
Why could we just snap this guy's neck? Let's clean up.
He's dead.
The captain has a distinct flair.
Point to prove.
Captain, we need to sit down and talk about the finer points of murdering, and I quote, someone.
You were about to make a really big,
Captain.
messy mess by eating his face and head. What is your point here?
Did you just call me captain?
I think he did, Captain.
Anywho, stand back.
Does that mean he's married
So,
to you now?
Umbra turns down. You see black tendrils with green energy sparkling through them like lightning smash into this body for a second. It kind of convulses and then hits the floor. Anybody that can see Eternals or magic notice some sort of energy form rise up slightly. And it's there in front of you. What do you say to it?
Dear departed, whatever the fuck your face was, we need to know where exactly the blankety-blank, or I guess, but I just know it as like the cargo hold, or like what would I know as like the location of storage?
So, if you're looking for the goods that are on the ship, the materials components, the parts and things you could sell for a lot of money, would be in the cargo hold. There also is likely to be jewelry, goods, and things like that some of the passengers themselves have. And when it comes to the Aetherite, that would be located near the reactor. Your supplies are probably being held inside of the secure safe, wherever that is.
So,
with this ability, is it just I can just speak to it as long as I keep going with it, or is it like a question, or kind of like what's the limitation of it? It just says use this ability allows the Aether Mage to converse with once living objects. They are granted +3 to brains rolls related to lore that the dead thing may have witnessed.
You'll be making a roll, and based on how high your roll is, we'll get more information out of them. So why don't you give me your roll first, and then I'll say how many questions you can ask.
Got it.
Because
So
after a
this-
while, it will just wisp away.
So +3 brains. Here we go.
And you get a
Oh,
12.
come on.
That will give
Roland
you
steps
one
in.
question.
Oh no, Roland steps in.
Roland says,
Being of the void, however temporary your soul may be, you will remain and you will listen. And gives an ace.
Umbra gets an ace because of Woo Woo Fortune Teller.
Yay.
So
Thank
go ahead
you.
and give us that roll again.
That's better.
20. With a 20, you can ask 3 questions.
All right. So, questions are number 1, what is basically the security or armed forces like on the ship? Basically, like the numbers, or kind of like what's the force we're facing here? Number 1. Number 2 would be the location of my specific goods, and then number 3 would be the location of. I promised the crew good, so the valuables basically.
All right, the valuables, not the materials.
Would I know which one would fetch more money, whether it's the valuables or the materials? Because I wasn't thinking the aetherite. I was just thinking of the lootables, like
Yes.
the booty, if you will. Hayar, the booty.
Materials are probably worth more, but they also are going to require more time and effort. They're in big crates. They're going to have to be shipped on and stuffed into your hold, that kind of thing. The valuables, on the other hand, are jewelry and goods and handfuls worth of things you can all stuff in your pockets.
We'll do the latter part. The thing
All right.
that, if we need to, we could just stuff and go.
So the first one that we had asked for was security forces. 2 had been where your things were, where the black box was. And then 3 is where the valuables are. So say the first question, and then I will answer as the being.
Can you give me an overview of the strength of the security force that protects this ship?
The security forces of the ship, you say? There were many. I would have counted 20, 25 total. There are also those agents.
Don't
Tell
like that.
me.
Does everyone hear this, or is it just me and
I
the
think
Reverend?
only you and Roland can hear them. Does anybody else have Actually, I don't think Roland can hear them either. Not with his
Ha!
basic abilities.
Okay,
I
good.
can't hear anything.
Leifei, you can't hear anything. You listen to music all the time and you have crossed ears. But no, I don't think anybody else here can actually see or hear Eternals.
Okay. Next question is literally going to be
Tell me where the secured storage is, where I will find
the items that I need.
The secured storage is located in a secret access hatch directly beneath the helm. I've had to work on it a few times. It's a bit dangerous. Watch out for lasers.
And finally, where would I find the largest collection of valuables that could be removed from the ship?
At the moment, probably outside the party, the cafeteria. There's a holding area for people's goods and things that they do not wish to lose while dancing.
We're gonna raid the coat check. Yes.
And I'm guessing with that, his life form departs.
Yep, it fades away at that point. Just whatever is left of this thing is gone. The memories have been lost.
Well, all right, crew, whatever we want to call ourselves. The sum total of all the armed forces here are about 25 standard guardsmen, like the one we just disposed of, as well as DAD agents, just to be frank. And but that's fine. The things that I really need, They are kind of in a difficult position. They're specifically underneath the helm of the ship, where I'm assuming there's going to be people. But for you all, the valuables that I promised, there's actually a party going on this vessel, and everyone apparently has checked their things in the cafeteria outside said party. Outside the cafeteria where this party is being held. So we just need to get there and then fill our bags with said loot.
Is the helm at the front of the ship?
Yes. Murder, hobos, and chocobros. Thank you for the raid. And what an amazing
Yeah.
name for a group.
Why don't you leave that problem to me then? I will stay back, and by the time you get to the helm, most of those problems will be well distracted.
It's fine with me. Do we want to split, or do we want to stay as a whole unit, or do we want to separate?
We should separate.
Cover
Make
more
everything
ground.
quick.
Galliard and Sonya, I don't think that'd be a wise idea.
Excuse you? Who are you talking to?
Yeah, actually, I didn't catch that reference. I'm sure it was very erudite.
Right, not working with them anymore. You don't split the party.
I've been operating on my own for a very long time, so
Yeah, and look where it got you.
Here.
yeah,
What do you
here
mean by that? It's-
I'm quite happy with my situation, brother Conrad.
All the pirates get insulted suddenly.
Yar.
Listen,
So-
if there's problems at the helm, and this thing blowing this conduit turns off the power to the helm, and doing so is going to draw a lot of attention back here, I get the feeling that this could be an effective trap.
Well, all right. I'm just here for the killing.
Well, if you'd like to stick around, there will be plenty of it.
I didn't know you were the captain, but okay.
I'm not. I was speaking in if-thens. It's ultimately Brother Leifei's call.
He's not making calls, it seems like.
That, what use is a flock without a shepherd?
I agree.
Leifei, they're trying to get you to make a call.
What use is a shepherd without a wolf?
But no, the shepherd. we'll talk this one out.
Can we
we'll
just
have
go
this
get
one over
my
coffee.
shit already? I mean, this is kind of pointless.
Everything
Well,
breaks down
really?
into bickering in the room.
Very quiet, whispered bickering.
We hear the sound of boots marching in the hallway outside, and a button being pressed on the door panel. And at that moment, the scene fades to black as we end tonight's episode with a big to be continued on the screen. And we will be returning after our third week break. Every third week here on Roll for Cast, we take 1 week off. We play some of our off games, one shots, things like that. So there is no more of this show next week, but it will be coming back the week after on the 28th. So catch that tomorrow. We happen to have the Unremarkables at 5 PST. Check that out. It's awesome. We're going to go around here to the table. We're going to say hellos. We're going to say our goodbyes. We're going to say our socials. And then we're going to say what we loved about tonight's episode and share the love amongst all of our wonderful crewmates here on Delinquents. So, as usual, we're going to start at random. Roll a d6 and see who goes first. In this case, it is Nora. You're going first tonight.
Hey y'all, I'm Nora. I whipped out a strong y'all, and I'm coming to you from my phone tonight because my computer is having a day. I've had a week, as you might be able to hear from my voice, but I stuck it out for you, dear audience. And I had a great time tonight with these fine fellows, and I'm just loving all of the crew banter. You can find me on Twitter at Azedadine, where I retweet mostly politics and TTRPG stuff. And you can also find me on the Delinquents on the off week, and over in the chat as often as I can, because I love you guys and all these shows. and on Cornfields and Kobolds, a 5th edition actual play podcast that comes out sometimes.
Sometimes. What was your favorite moment from tonight?
The one that will stick in my memory is Leifei just shanking the dude in the throne.
One big ol' stab in the neck. Leifei, proving how brutal of a pirate he is at this point. We'll move on from there. Speaking of brutal pirates that aren't quite pirates, to Conrad and Jackal. Where can we see you, and what was your favorite moment of tonight?
I can't say that one.
Do it.
I'll show you yours. You show me mine.
Twice.
It just keeps getting better with each increasing increment.
You know, repetition is the heart of humor, I hear, if you're Family Guy.
If I'm being really honest, I don't really like Family Guy, but I do like just trying to play Conrad and piss people off.
It is interesting to see Conrad develop. I'm curious what he's going to look like long term in this session as he starts to succumb to sadness.
I'm thinking there's going to be arguments.
Probably. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there.
No.
All right, so we'll move on from there over to Atomic and Umbra. Your socials and your favorite moment tonight.
Hey everybody, I'm Atomic Zero. You can find me on Twitter at ttv_Atomic Zero, as well as Twitch at twitch.tv/Atomic Zero. Various TTRPG variety streamer, and I will be starting a new TTRPG show starting on the 10th of February called Esper Genesis Revelations. And my favorite moment of the show was probably the dynamic between Mr. September as well as Jackal in the engine room, where it's just like, are you going to answer my question? Do you want me to answer your question? I asked you a question. Are you sure you asked me a question? It's just like, what's happening?
That was brilliant. All right, we'll move on from there to Benjamin and, the Reverend Parson Roland Saint September Augustine of the 4th house of, Aries in Capricorn Rising. I don't know.
Blessed be thy name.
Hey everybody, I'm TT Benjamin. You can find me on Twitter at TTBenjamin1. I'm the host and dungeon master of the Lawful Great Adventures podcast. Why is there a... Hold on, no, there was like a voice coming on in the background. Oh man, I was like ready to like do the whole thing like in one breath. Ah, damn it. Anyway,
broke it.
I know, I'm really upset. No, this ruined my night. I'm very sad. Anyway, I'm the producer and dungeon master for the Lawful Great Adventures podcast. We just started our second campaign. I'm very excited. The listens are literally through the roof. Please, someone give me money to fix my roof. Lawful Great Adventures at great_lawful. I'm really excited about it. I play Killian Cannon on the Telluride podcast, which is hosted by Lawful Great Adventures. Telluride, like the Kia Telluride. We released our podcast before they released their car, so they owe us money. I will be joining Atomic Zero on Esper Genesis Revelations. I'm really excited about that. We're in pre-production right now. The crew is, oh my god, it's Atomic. You're not ready. I'm very excited, and then of course I'm always proud to be with Roll for Chaos. As for my favorite moment, I don't have a favorite specific moment. I rarely do. I really like the schism in the crew, where there's definitely like a coalition. Like we've got Conrad and Umbra versus Leifei and Roland, and then poor frickin' Clarion like stuck trying to fix everything, and no one ever listens to her. And it's very Shakespearean, and it's wonderful.
It's almost like Clarion is both still Clarion from the first season and now Amos from the first season mixed into one.
Clarion is both mom and dad.
Both.
And that's...
Thanks. I hate it.
I will raise this family myself, damn it.
She's gonna take custody of B and just nope the fuck out.
Mom's divorcing you all and taking the kid.
Peace.
Yeah, we're gonna take down the Empire on our own terms. You guys are too messed up.
Oh god. I can only imagine how she's gonna respond if Amos returns. She's just like, listen.
There's nothing I can do.
Well, that is
They dug
brilliant.
their own graves. You were better off not being here.
All right, and Kai, you're up next with Leifei.
Well, hello. It's just me, your homeboy, one of fellow people, all coming in on this pirate adventure. And I will bring this into a secondary part. By the way, last time on this whole campaign in this season 1, I did like a shout out to something a while back. This is season 2, so I can do it again. So, Lawful Great Adventures is a podcast that is very interesting in many ways. It's about 4 friends on a long journey home. And gets better every episode. Why are you not listening to it? Why are you not listening to it? Please listen to it right now.
It's very good.
They're in good-sized episodes, quality podcast. I listen to it at work. I listen to it while I'm walking. What are you doing? Listen to it right now as well. You can find me at Twitch on the channel Mascane. I stream games sometime, and one of those games here on the channel is Delinquents. I play Aether and Steamworks. My favorite scene tonight. I have a lot to get through. My favorite scene tonight is 2-parter. A secondary and a primary. Secondary scene. It was very understated, but I very much enjoyed talking to Clarion in a very short period of time, and every episode I wish it was longer, because Clarion is one of the people that I want Leifei to talk to the most.
Do it. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
I see you
I
for
like
not making difficult decisions.
You'll get more chance.
I
Oh
like
wait,
them
that's Saber.
reading it together, and I feel like there's a schism sort of set up between the two of them. A word earlier said that Leifei and Clarion, I believe, don't want to be there. But the other part that I really much enjoyed was a little bit earlier. Umbra. I'm very much enjoying his matter-of-factness in coming into this group and saying straight up to the guy that's at the front of the helm. He didn't know what Leifei was about at all, but this guy is like bad news. Leifei's bad news to him. So he comes right up to it with elderly insight, wisdom. Hey, don't screw me over. Can you please tell me what's up with you? I'll tell you what's up with me right now. So we're on a good term.
Let's just put all of those secrets out on the table right away.
I loved it. I loved it a lot. It was interesting. It brought out a lot of what Umbra is, what he's about, this sort of second personality that I didn't get to deal with at all in the early game in the first episode. And it was very cool.
I am looking forward to seeing all of your continual conversations, getting to know each other, knowing each other's stories, and seeing where we go to next. Everybody out there, you can catch me, Even Star, on my Twitter and my Twitch. I do art things, I do game things, and I play game things on occasion. So do that, and then come on back here. Be here tomorrow, watch The Unremarkables. Come back next week, watch The Misguided Souls on Thursday next week. Do it! And then definitely come back to watch what happens next on Delinquents when we return. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Goodbye.